Chapter 284. Dongbua Shuang nodded, admirable. Just as young Master Wu Ma Hai predicted, my true meaning of mirage is indeed at the Stage 2 realm. His true meaning of mirage had reached the peak of the Stage 2 realm. He originally thought that not many demigods would be able to discover his movements, but it was clear that there were experts amongst experts. An era suppressor might not be able to discover him, but the stronger leader, Wu Ma Hai, did. You were poisoned by the Six Ghosts' resentment, yet your true meaning of mirage reached the Stage 2 realm in 100 years? Bo did not dare believe it. This was too much of a slap to his face. The true meaning of mirage was indeed famous, but he felt that with his grade 3 deity heart, he should have been able to block the first stage realm of the true meaning of mirage. Who would have thought that Shuang would be so much stronger than he had expected? The golden-armored youth, Wu Ma Hai, said, "Unfortunately, you were poisoned by the voodoo poison and have no transcendent chi left in your body. You cannot step into the demigod realm or use deity weapons. Although your true meaning of mirage is mysterious, your attacks are too weak. When the time comes, even if you meet some terrifying enemies in Crimson Rock Mountain, you will not be able to harm them." Yes. Bo immediately nodded, "Your movements in the mirage are quite mysterious. You can be useful as a scout, but your attacks are still too weak." Dongbua Shuang listened without saying a word. "If we bring you to Crimson Rock Mountain, you will be of little help to us, but we will have to bear the risk. This time, we are fully prepared, and we have been arranged by the powerful existences of the deity world to risk our lives." The lanky man, Ba Han, said, "There are many things in this world that are fair. It is not impossible for us to bring you there, but you need to show enough sincerity." "Oh, what do I need to pay?" Dongbua Shuang asked. "Xia people have complete information on Crimson Rock Mountain. Of course, this is the easiest. Palace Lord Chen has already promised that as long as you follow us, he will definitely give it to us. Actually, before we came here, we already had enough intelligence. It doesn't matter if you Xia people have more or less intelligence." The tall and skinny man, Ba Han, narrowed his eyes. "We need you to be our team's spy. We asked you to scout ahead, so you have to scout ahead. Don't be afraid to advance. To us, this is the only thing you can do." Dongbua Shuang furrowed his brows. "Spy? You want me to go, so I have to go. Gentlemen, if I knew that it was dangerous ahead, would I still rush forward? Isn't that courting death? There's no need to get too close to investigate. All we need to do is investigate," said Ba Han with a smile. "If you don't dare to investigate, what's the use of having you around?" Bo snorted coldly. Dongbua Shuaying's expression changed slightly. This Bo was indeed domineering. Crimson Rock Mountain was left behind by an almighty being from the deity realm. You should have obtained information about Crimson Rock Mountain and should know that there is very little that you need to investigate. The golden-armored youth said, "We won't be too demanding, but you have to pay a price. After all, we've been attacking along the way." "All right." Dongbua Shuang nodded. "I'll do my best." He definitely wouldn't throw his life away. "One last request," the golden-armored youth said with a smile, "we need 10 deity-grade scrolls." "What?" Dongbua Shuaying's expression changed, and his eyes burned with fury. "Gentlemen, aren't you going overboard? 10 deity-grade scrolls. We must take them." The red-haired man, Bo, said coldly, "This is our final request. If you take them out, we'll definitely bring you into Crimson Rock Mountain. If you don't, then there's nothing we can do." The dagger was revealed. Only then did Shuang regain his senses. He had originally thought that the team from the Temple of the Earth God would be willing to bring him along after seeing that he had the true meaning of mirage and would not be a burden to them, and that he would help them out as a scout, since he had provided them with information on Crimson Rock Mountain. However, he had been too optimistic. Their true goal was the deity-grade scrolls. "Impossible," Dongbua Shuang said in a low voice. "Furthermore, I don't even have a single deity-grade scroll." "You don't, but the Xia people do." The tall, skinny man, Ba Han, who was wrapped in thick robes, said softly, "Although very few of you Xia people have ascended to godhood, there's still a large number of them throughout history. After becoming godhood, their sorcerers should have refined some deity-grade scrolls, right? To the Xia people, taking out 10 deity-grade scrolls shouldn't be a difficult task. I heard that the Xia people paid a hefty price to save you. If you take out 10 more deity-grade scrolls..." Dongbua Shuang said angrily, "Impossible. Don't even think about it." The three demigods from the deity realm exchanged glances. Actually, their ultimate goal was the deity-grade scrolls. The reason why they didn't mention this to the Palace Lord Chen was because they didn't want to scare the Palace Lord Chen. Hence, they decided to keep him in suspense before enticing Dongbua Shuang to bring them out. According to their judgment, Dongbua Shuang was still very important to the Xia people. Furthermore, he had contributed greatly to the deity-grade scrolls. It shouldn't be difficult for him to obtain a few deity-grade scrolls. One must know, the price of transporting deity-grade scrolls from the deity realm to the temporal temple was too terrifying. However, the Xia people were different. Every generation of Xia people who ascended to godhood could stay for 10,000 years before entering the deity realm. During this period of time, they would also contribute a lot to the Xia people. For example, refining deity-grade scrolls. Because they didn't need to transport them to the temporal temple, they could directly refine them in their hometowns. Of course, it wasn't easy to refine every single deity-grade scroll. In order to deal with the calamities of the past, the Xia people had used a lot of them. To the Xia people, every single scroll was their foundation. How about this? 10 might be too much. How about 5? The golden-armored youth, Wu Ma Hai, said, 5 deity-grade scrolls. I heard that the Xia people used quite a few deity-grade scrolls to break through the 12 arrays set up by the beast race to save you. 5 scrolls, to the Xia people, this is definitely a relatively easy amount to take out. 5, no less. Bo Bo added, if you take them out, we'll be comrades. If you can't, you can go back. Dongbua Shuang forcefully suppressed his anger. As a person who was about to die, going to the Crimson Rock Mountain was a gamble for a chance of survival. Now that the Xia people were facing the threat of the great demon god and the sorcerer god, how could he ask the Xia people for 5 deity-grade scrolls? Not to mention 5, he couldn't even take 1. Farewell. Dongbua Shuang said, then turned to leave. The expressions of Wu Ma Hai, Ba Han, and Bo Bo changed slightly. Dongbua Shuang, no team would accept you. You're already lucky that we're willing to accept you. Wu Ma Hai said coldly. Then I'll go in alone. Dongbua Shuang said. With just you? Humph, with Bo Bo's strength, if he went in alone, he would most likely die. As for you, you'll definitely die. There's no chance of survival. Wu Ma Hai sneered, if you go, you'll be throwing your life away. I advise you to think this through. When you face death in the Crimson Rock Mountain, no one will be able to save you. It'll be too late for regrets. Dongbua Shuang walked out and smiled, thank you, young Master Wu Ma Hai, for your concern. Brat, your life isn't even worth 5 deity-grade scrolls. The lanky man, Ba Han, said loudly, as long as you agree, we'll definitely protect you. Ha, a dying man is worth 5 deity-grade scrolls? You've overestimated me. Dongbua's figure had already walked out of the garden gate and disappeared from the sight of the 3 demigods. The golden-armored youth, Wu Ma Hai, sat down in the pavilion, picked up a pastry and put it in his mouth, frowning, I didn't expect this Dongbua Shuang to be so unafraid of death. The moment I mentioned the deity-grade scrolls, he immediately rejected it. There wasn't even room for negotiation. To the Xia people, a peerless transcendent like him would be willing to take out 3 to 5 scrolls. However, this brat Dongbua Shuang didn't cooperate at all. What a waste! Bo Bo sat down on a rock beside him and said angrily. Forget it, let this brat die. The lanky man, Ba Han, said, what's the point of having the true meaning of mirage? In Crimson Rock Mountain, there are very few places that need to be explored. The main thing is to fight along the way. His strength is much weaker than ours. And, let's get ready quietly. Don't bother about him, Wu Ma Hai said. They actually didn't think much of Dongbu Shuiying's strength. Previously, when they let Dongbu Shuiying take the fruit, they wanted to intimidate Dongbu Shuiying and force him to take it away. Who knew that Dongbu Shuiying's true meaning of mirage was stronger than they had expected? Even so, they still didn't think much of him. After all, Dongbu Shuiying's attacks were too weak, and he didn't have a divine weapon. He was much weaker than Bo Bo. The only thing they cared about was Dongbu Shuiying's value in the eyes of the Xia people. Thus, they wanted to obtain a few deity-grade scrolls. Unfortunately, they failed. Take care, Lord Dongbu Shuiying. The guards at the entrance of the Terine Shrine were still very respectful. Dongbu Shuiying walked out of the entrance of the Terine Shrine and looked at the vast sky outside. He smiled and said, "It's fine if I don't go with a team like this. At most, I'll just barge into Crimson Rock Mountain alone." Boom! In an instant, he soared into the sky. A spatial tear appeared in the sky, and Dongbu Shuiying disappeared into it. Chapter 285. In White River City, the Dongyu restaurant was bustling with activity as usual. Dongbu Shuiying walked into the restaurant. "Boss, you went out to paint again?" Boss Dongbu seems to be in a good mood. As the regulars greeted Shuiying, Shuiying smiled and said a few words to them. Soon, he arrived at his exclusive seat upstairs and sat down. He ordered a waiter to prepare 2 side dishes and a flask of wine. He ate the side dishes and drank the wine by himself. In just a short moment, Jing Qiu, dressed in a dark blue gown, walked up to the restaurant. Because she had been maintaining a simple spell, the onlookers only felt that Jing Qiu was quite beautiful, but not to the point of being breathtaking. If she really did not conceal it, after Jing Qiu became a transcendent, she would have been reborn. Her looks would be the #1 beauty in the entire Xia people. Ordinary women would not be able to compare to her. If she revealed her looks publicly, she would have caused a huge commotion. Snow Eagle. Jing Qiu sat opposite Dongbu Shuiying. Her eyes were filled with anxiety. How about looking for the team from the Temple of the Earth God? What else can I do? Dongbu Shuiying laughed helplessly. They didn't take a liking to me. Didn't take a liking to you? Jing Qiu panicked. Since they asked you to go, they should be prepared to bring you there. Why didn't they take a liking to you? From the start, they never took a liking to me. Dongbu Shuiying poured a cup of wine. They already knew that my transcendent chi was gone, and I was unable to use my god equipment. They never had any expectations of my strength. When I first arrived, they even tested me. I passed their test perfectly. But what happened in the end? They still wanted God-tier scrolls. God-tier scrolls? Jing Qiu was stunned. That's right. They aren't that kind. Their ultimate goal is the God-tier scrolls. They asked for 10 God-tier scrolls right off the bat, and then lowered it to 5. Dongbu Shuiying harumphed coldly. What wishful thinking. Jing Qiu and Dongbu Shuiying had been together for many years. She was all too familiar with Dongbu Shuiying's temper. Jing Qiu was very clear that Dongbu Shuiying would never ask for a God-tier scroll, not even one. She could not do it because if she did, it would be worse than death for Dongbu Shuiying. Some things could be done. Some things should not be done. Then what should we do? Jing Qiu asked anxiously. Salad. Dongbu Shuiying laughed. At the same time, he picked up a piece of meat and brought it to Jing Qiu's mouth. Come, open your mouth. I'm the one who's anxious. You're really? Jing Qiu had no choice but to open her mouth and bite him. There's nothing to be anxious about. If there's really no other choice, I'll go alone. Ancestor Black Wind was able to come out alive that year. I feel that I can come out alive too. Dongbu Shuiying said confidently. Suddenly, Palace Lord Chen transmitted a message to him. He had always been concerned about Dongbu Shuang. Dongbu Shuang did not hide anything and told him everything. After that, he even reminded Palace Lord Chen, don't give these outsiders God-tier scrolls secretly. If you give them to them, you know my temper. Snow Eagle, you're really. Don't worry. Even if I really wanted to give them 5 God-tier scrolls, I can't make the decision alone. I need the approval of the entire Doyan's Council. Palace Lord Chen transmitted. This was the most crucial moment for the Xia people. They were facing the threat of the Sorcerer God and the Great Demon God. Even the ancestors of the Xia people were paying close attention to the movements in their homeland. To use 5 God-tier scrolls, not only did they have to go through the Doyan's Council, they had to let the ancestors of the Xia people know. That's good. Dongbu Shuang smiled. Dongbu Shuang was living a leisurely life in White River City. To him, it would be better if he could follow a team to Crimson Rock Mountain. But if he couldn't, it didn't matter. He was also waiting for the day of departure. According to Palace Lord Chen, there were already 3 teams that had arrived. They were the teams from the Temple of the Earth God, the Bloodshed Tavern, and the team led by the outsider, the Meishan Master, who had arrived in the Xia people's world a long time ago. Spear techniques focus on the foundation. Without a solid foundation, it's impossible to master it well. In the northern courtyard of the mansion behind the tavern, Dongbu Shuang was holding an ordinary spear and practicing his spear techniques. The group of disciples who had come to learn spear techniques, regardless of whether they were young or old, were all practicing seriously. Especially after witnessing Dongbu Ying's unimaginable methods, these disciples became even more serious. Their gazes towards Dongbu Shuang were filled with fervor and excitement. Dongbu Shuang had also instructed them not to leak this information. Actually, he didn't care whether this information was leaked or not. After all, he was going to leave this place very soon. At that time, Jing Qiu would also leave this tavern. Before leaving, he decided to teach these children a little more. Each and every move of the spear was simple and natural. Experiencing the most basic circulation of energy in the physical world had also helped Dongbu Shuang grasp the profound mysteries of spear techniques. Dongbu Shuang suddenly frowned. Over 8,000 li away from the Dongyu Tavern, within a ravine, there was a huge village. Smoke could be seen rising from the chimneys, and the households of the village were huddled together. This was a huge village with over 1,000 households. A large number of children could be seen running around the village, while the women were washing clothes and preparing meals. The men had just returned from the mountains or the farms. Kids, let's go home. It's almost time for dinner. If you don't go back, I'll spank your buttocks. The men laughed out loud, and the group of children immediately ran far away. At this moment, an ordinary-looking hawker carrying a pole walked to the entrance of the village. His triangular eyes stared coldly at the village. This village is pretty big, and it's said that there are over 6,000 people here. This place is rather remote, and is far from the county capital. It's unlikely that the Xia people would discover us. After enduring for half a year, let's eat our fill this time. This hawker was a demon who had transformed into his human form. Their generals had been killed, and only one had managed to escape. They could only rely on themselves to survive. Father, the good food is here. Come quickly, come quickly. A child at the entrance of the village shouted excitedly as soon as he saw the hawker. How tender! The hawker's eyes glowed red, and his entire body suddenly expanded, turning into an ugly, 3-meter-tall, green-scaled demon. Its snake-like tongue stretched out from its mouth, dripping with mucus. The child, who was originally happy, was completely stunned. He was so scared that he couldn't speak. All of you! A violent surge of dark magic rushed out from its body. This green-scaled demon had completely gone mad. It wanted to devour the souls of all the humans in the village as soon as possible. Suddenly, in front of a group of disciples. Spear art able to unleash and retract at will. Dongbu Shuang raised his body and thrust his spear behind him. With a swing of his spear, the spear shaft straightened, and the spearhead pierced forward. The moment the ugly, tall, green-scaled demon appeared, and the dark magic rushed out. Whoosh! A shadow of a spear appeared out of thin air. The spear was straight, and the spearhead pierced forward, right between the green-scaled demon's eyebrows. The green-scaled demon looked at this scene in shock. Then, its body completely shattered like sand, including its sturdy bones and scales, as well as its weapons and storage treasures. It was so shattered that it couldn't be seen with the naked eye. The only thing that could be seen was its body crumbling and disappearing into nothingness. The shadow of the long spear that was thrown out also disappeared. Dongyu Restaurant, in the northern courtyard of the mansion. Dongbua Shuang raised his body and swung his spear. He then retracted his spear and shook his head. These demons are hiding in every corner of the Xia people's world. If they don't reveal their true forms, there's no way to tell. All of you little brats, practice more. Dongbua Shuang shouted. Yes, Master. All of them replied in unison. Dongbua Shuang then sat on a chair at the side. Cold sweat could be seen on his forehead. The pain from the voodoo poison had reached its peak. Snow Eagle, good news, great news. The leader of the Bloodshed Tavern's team has offered to bring you to Crimson Rock Mountain. A message from Palace Lord Qin arrived. I'm a bit stuck. I've only updated 1 chapter today, and I've accumulated to 4 chapters. Star. Chapter 287. Palace Lord Qin, the leader of the Bloodshed Tavern's team, suggested this. You didn't give him any deity-grade scrolls? Dongbua Shuang was also excited by this news. If he could follow the team, he would naturally be willing. After all, these teams were all very powerful. Not only were they all at a high cultivation level, they also had deity-grade scrolls and treasures prepared for the Crimson Rock Mountain. As for him, he really didn't have any treasures. He only had his own strength. He still had to leave his most precious treasures for the Xia people. Moreover, he was alone. Even if he was confident in his own strength, the difficulty of moving alone would probably be 10 times higher. Don't worry. I can't possibly give you deity-grade scrolls. I don't have the authority to do so either. Palace Lord Qin transmitted. This is something that the leader of the Bloodshed Tavern's team suggested. I have to pay him a visit. Dongbua Shuang was very grateful. The headquarters of the Bloodshed Tavern was located in an ordinary county city. It was a bustling, super-large tavern that occupied an area of 1 to 2 miles. Behind this super-large tavern, there were many courtyards. In one of the courtyards, there was a team of demigods from the deity realm. Manor Lord, that Dongbua Shuang is only a saint-tier transcendent. He has also been poisoned by the 6 ghosts' resentment. No matter how strong he is, he probably can't be ranked first in this mortal world. Wouldn't it be a hindrance to bring him into the Crimson Rock Mountain? An old man with a goatee sat at the side and muttered. He was dirty and unkempt. Beside him was the bald, yellow-robed old man who was sitting cross-legged. The bald, yellow-robed old man nodded and said, "An old thief's words make sense. Manor Lord, this time, you have disregarded everything to enter this place. We have all gambled with our lives. We don't need Dongbua Shuang's help. However, if he were to affect us, that would be terrible." The choice of companions was very important. This was also the reason why the team from the Terrene Shrine dared to ask for such a high price. A normal team wouldn't be willing to bring someone who would drag them down. If they fell into a trap at a crucial moment, the entire team would be in trouble. An old thief. Uncle Fu, I've also asked around. This Dongbua Shuang seems to have grasped the true meaning of mirage or the true meaning of shadow. He won't bring us any trouble, said a green-robed middle-aged man. This middle-aged man had an extraordinary bearing. His aura was completely restrained, and he did not give off any pressure. However, he was the leader of this team. The Bloodshed Tavern belonged to one of the 3 superpowers in the deity world, the Bloodshed God Palace. The higher-ups of the Bloodshed God Palace could easily find many formidable demigods. Being able to choose this team was naturally extraordinary. It won't bring any trouble, but it won't bring any benefits either. In terms of scouting, my true meaning of illusions has already condensed a true deity heart. Isn't it more powerful than that brat's shallow true meaning of mirage? The goateed old man stared. The true meaning of illusions was a grade 3 true meaning, while the true meaning of mirage was a grade 2 true meaning. However, the other party had already condensed a true deity heart, which was extremely frightening. The two of you, that's enough. Stop grumbling. The green-robed middle-aged man said, that Dongbu Shuang has already arrived. Let's meet this brat. After all, we'll be comrades in the future, and we'll share life and death together. The goateed old man and the bald yellow-robed old man could only feel helpless. They could not change the will of the manor master. Very soon, creak. The door opened. A white-robed young man who looked slightly sickly walked in. Most transcendents would have a healthy complexion. Dongbu Shuang, who had been tortured by the hexing poison, naturally had a sickly complexion. Hex poison. The green-robed middle-aged man looked at Shuang as he walked in. He thought back to the wife he had married when he was young and had just become a transcendent. His wife had endured the torment of the hex poison for 30 years. She had accompanied him for 30 years before dying. This was a pain he would never be able to forget. The moment he knew of Dongbu Ying's bitter experience, he had made this decision. It wasn't easy for this young man to endure the 6 ghosts' resentment for 100 years. Dongbu Ying, right? The green-robed middle-aged man smiled. My name is Persei. From now on, we'll be comrades. Greetings, Brother Persei. Dongbu Shuang bowed slightly to show his respect. First time meeting, this Persei naturally released some of his aura. In the world of transcendence, strength was the most powerful. The moment Dongbu Shuang sensed the aura released by this Persei, he could faintly feel the roars of 8 ferocious dragons. Each of the 8 ferocious dragons represented a terrifying will. Some represented destruction, some represented venom, some represented violence. These 8 ferocious dragons were extremely terrifying, but at the end of their terror was boundless vitality. Even though they were clearly 8 ferocious dragons, they were filled with boundless vitality. Perhaps this was the principle of extreme yin giving birth to yang, and extreme yang giving birth to yin. He is indeed the leader of the team sent by the higher-ups of the Bloodshed God Palace. His strength is unfathomable. Dongbu Shuang thought. Within an ordinary county city, countless people were living their lives as usual. You scoundrel! Since you don't wish for me to live, I'll make sure you don't live either. Die, die! An honest-looking man was currently holding a butcher's knife with a savage expression as he furiously chopped towards a half-naked muscular man who was acting domineeringly. The muscular man glared at him and immediately pulled out a knife from his waist. You're rebelling. The two began fighting on the streets. Strangely, the other people on the streets did not feel any fear. Instead, their eyes turned red. Some started cursing at each other, while others started beating each other up. There were even some who directly attacked each other. Ha ha ha, beauty, no matter how loud you shout, it's useless. Within a house, a ruffian directly rushed in to grab a woman. The woman was crying out mournfully, my child, my child. Beside her, there was an infant still wrapped in swaddling clothes who had already lost all signs of life. Ah, my child, my child. The woman's voice was mournful. Gradually, her eyes turned blood red. Her fingernails dug into the eyes of the ruffian in front of her. Poochie, peel off all of your skin. A fierce-looking man sat there looking at the men and women being hung. Who asked this grandpa to be so happy today? I'll use your skin to make clothes. It'll definitely be nice. Peel, peel, peel. If the subordinates by his side were in the past, they would definitely be terrified. They would definitely be afraid that their master would become so cruel. But at this moment, all of their eyes were red as they laughed mischievously and picked up their knives, Those men and women who were hung were all cursing and cursing furiously. Everyone in this county city seemed to have turned into a demon, revealing the most savage side of human nature. In just a short period of time, the entire county city was covered in blood. The smell of blood permeated the air. More than half of the people in the county city had killed each other in a short period of time. The rest were still in the midst of all sorts of tortures and killings. Many died horrible deaths, and their wails and resentment filled the entire city. This sound is really nice to hear. Ha ha ha. In the middle of the county city, there was a skinny old man with an overflowing savage aura. The skinny old man stood in midair. His fingernails were very long, and he was currently holding onto a strange crystal ball. The crystal ball was already filled with countless vengeful spirits. These vengeful spirits were all wailing in agony. What's going on here? Another figure appeared in midair. It was a very cold and silent man. His aura was also cold and dark. It was ghost deity Knight Feng Dong. No matter how cold Feng Dong was normally, at this moment, he was stunned. He saw the county city which had tens of millions of people turned into a hell. The smell of blood and resentment filled the air. Buzz! He immediately borrowed the power of heaven and earth to instantly investigate the entire county city. What he saw made him even more furious. 80 to 90% of the people in the county city had died. Some of the deaths were so tragic that he could not bear to see them. The ferocious, crazy, and resentful aura of the dead made Feng Dong's heart even more furious. Who are you? Feng Dong also discovered the skinny old man in the middle of the county city. With a teleportation, he appeared in front of the old man. Feng Dong looked at the skinny old man in anger. He completely understood that all of this was caused by this old man. It's this crystal ball. Feng Dong could faintly sense that the crystal ball was releasing an invisible force that enveloped the entire county city. It was causing the people in the county city to go crazy. After they died, their souls were also attracted by this invisible force and were sucked into the crystal ball. Break for me. Feng Dong's anger reached the sky. He immediately attacked. A long halberd appeared in his hand. The long halberd turned into a black ray of light and instantly pierced towards the crystal ball. How dare you! The skinny old man immediately shouted angrily. Chapter 288. The thin old man grabbed the crystal ball with one hand, and his figure flashed as he dodged Feng Dong's attack. You're pretty fast, huh? Feng Dong was truly enraged. As a transcendent of the Xia people, his duty was to protect the Xia people. Filled with rage, Feng Dong's strength erupted. He transformed into a strange shadow, and his speed was even faster than the old man's. One must know that he was called the Ghost Deity Knight because he was like a ghost when he fought. Clang, clang, clang. The thin old man held the crystal ball with one hand, using the other to block the halberd's thrusts with great difficulty. Rip! The halberd transformed into a dark shadow, and the thin old man was finally unable to block it with one hand. The halberd pierced through his body. It's useless. The thin old man had just revealed a cold smile when his expression suddenly changed. His pierced chest began to emit cheat sounds as his body began to corrode. A spirit body? You're an evil spirit. Feng Dong's expression changed slightly. Unfortunately, you've met me. I'm called the Ghost Deity Knight. Who? The crystal ball that he held in one hand was immediately stored into his storage treasure. Because it was stored, the effects on the entire county city immediately ceased. The survivors of the county city, who had been in a frenzy, also regained their clarity of mind. Each and every one of them were completely stunned. No, master. Why is it like this? The survivors of the county city were completely stunned by what they had just done, as well as the hellish scene in front of them. This was a nightmare, even more terrifying than their own. Who are you? Why are you collecting so many vengeful spirits? Feng Dong roared angrily as he continued to attack. At this moment, the thin old man was using both his claws to block, but it was still extremely strenuous. He only had the strength of a veteran demigod, while Feng Dong had long since reached the peak of demigod after many years of cultivation. In addition, in terms of techniques, he was superior to the thin old man, and he was able to restrain him. "My master is the great master Nuan Nuan," the thin old man shouted. "You can't kill me." "Nuan Nuan? Who? Which otherworldly guest is it?" Feng Dong roared. Even as he spoke, his hands did not stop moving. The halberd continued to break through the thin old man's defense, stabbing into his body again and again. Chi 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 sounds rang out from the thin old man's body and his body began to fade away. Clearly, each of Feng Dong's attacks had wounded him. As evil spirits, normal attacks were ineffective against them. However, Feng Dong's profound mysteries of true meaning could injure it. Suddenly, the aura of the frail old man rose. Behind him, a huge illusory image appeared. It was the illusory image of a skull with green eyes. The illusory image of the skull growled, "Xia people, stop. You're Nuan Nuan. Why didn't you stop when you were killing our Xia people?" Feng Dong said coldly, not stopping at all. As the halberd continued to attack, the thin old man's body became even more illusory. "Demigod of the Xia people, are you the ghost deity knight of the black-white deity mountain, Feng Dong? Let go of my servant or else you will die," roared the skull. "You dare to wantonly slaughter in the world of the Xia people? There is only one ending for you, death." Feng Dong's halberd was as fast as lightning, and the already weakened old man finally couldn't hold on any longer. With a shrill scream, his entire body dissipated like mist, and a storage treasure that he carried with him also appeared out of thin air. "Damn it!" Accompanied by an unwilling roar, the huge illusory skull also dissipated. Feng Dong grabbed the storage treasure, quickly took out the crystal ball, and directly smashed it. Countless vengeful spirits appeared between heaven and earth. Very quickly, the laws of heaven and earth revolved, and they all disappeared without a trace. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. As Feng Dong listened to the cries of the countless vengeful spirits, a trace of sorrow appeared in his eyes. What he hated the most was these foreign races that wantonly slaughtered humans. The experiences of his youth had greatly changed his temperament, and he was now like a ghost god. Feng Dong descended into the prefectural city below. Seeing many people crying and some completely lifeless youths, Feng Dong felt as if he was looking at himself in the past. Foreign races. Foreign races. Feng Dong roared. Although he was incomparably furious, he still hurriedly reported the news to the palace Lord Chen. In the courtyard behind the Bloodshed Tavern, Dongbo Shuang was currently conversing with the three of them. He could sense that the other two were not very close to him, while the leader of the team, Persei, was rather friendly. How strange. The Manor Lord is infamous, but he's actually so kind to this Dongbo Shuang. That's rare. That's right. The Manor Lord is only kind to those close to him. The goateed old man and the bald yellow-robed old man conversed through voice transmissions. After chatting for a while, Dongbo Shuang prepared to stand up and leave. Suddenly, his expression changed. "Snow Eagle, there's a large-scale massacre in our tranquil Sun province. 3 prefectural cities and a large number of mortals have been massacred. Countless mortals have died miserably. I'm afraid there's more than 100 million dead. Brother Dongbua, in the 19 provinces of our Xia people's world, massacres have occurred in many places. There were even some prefectural cities that originally had transcendents. However, those transcendents lost their minds and did not report it to the higher-ups. In the end, they even fell into a coma. The transcendents were not killed. If they were killed, the communication wristband would automatically send a message, and we would know that a massacre had occurred. It was only after Ghost Deity Knight Feng Dong discovered it and reported it to the Infernal Palace that we knew about it." Snow Eagle, one message after another came in rapidly. Dongbo Shuang looked at it in disbelief. He was a little dazed. 100 million? Although the word 100 million sounded simple, it represented countless people. In these 100 years, he had accompanied his wife to travel around the world. Walking amongst the mortals, Dongbu Shuang had never thought highly of himself. He had always felt that mortals and transcendents were both humans. The only difference was that transcendents were stronger. He was also willing to teach many ordinary children spear arts. He was also very serious in teaching them. Now that he heard about such a large-scale massacre, he was completely stunned. The green-robed middle-aged man, Persei, suddenly frowned. Dongbu Shuang, did your Xia people encounter some trouble? Yes. Dongbu Shuang opened his mouth. His voice was slightly hoarse. Persei frowned. He could feel Dongbu Ying's current emotions. You guys have to be careful. Such ruthless methods might be used secretly in the deity world, but they wouldn't be so arrogant. Persei said. Only in the chaotic dark abyss, such things are very common. Thus, my guess is that, this large-scale massacre should be done by the demigod team from the dark abyss. The demigod team from the dark abyss? Dongbu Shuang looked at Persei. Let me remind you Xia people. Among the teams that descended, I am most wary of the demigod team from the dark abyss. Persei said. They are different from the demigods of the mortal world and the demigods of the deity world. The indigenous life forms of the dark abyss are known as demons. Their innate talents are extremely strong. Their innate talents are comparable to deity weapons. The team that descended this time will definitely not be ordinary demigods. They will definitely be selected from the countless demigods. They will select the most terrifying existence. The massacre in the dark abyss is the most intense. The competition is also the most intense. Furthermore, the innate talents of the demons are extremely strong. Thus, this team of demigods is definitely very strong. Persei said. For them to dare to act so wantonly, I'm afraid that they do not care about you Xia people. You Xia people should really be careful. Thank you brother Persei. Dongbu Shuang said gratefully. I shall not stay here any longer. When we depart, I will contact you through the communication wristband. Persei said. This communication wristband was given to Persei by the Palace Lord Chen. It was the communication wristband of the Xia people. The communication methods that they used from the outside were unable to communicate with the communication wristband of the Xia people. Alright. Dongbu Shuang could no longer sit still. After bidding farewell, he hurriedly left. In a majestic city. Dongbu Shuang walked outside the city. He could smell the stench of blood in the villages outside the city. Corpses could be seen everywhere. All of them were dead. Not a single one survived. Such a scene caused Dongbu Ying's heart to turn cold. Damn it, damn it. Dongbu Shuang gritted his teeth. Back then, he and his wife had come to this city before. They had eaten many snacks there and even brought some pastries to the children on the streets. But now, they were all dead. The entire city was a dead city. Dongbu Shuang walked into the city. Looking at the scene before him, his eyes turned slightly red. He was tortured by the voodoo poison and was getting closer and closer to death. But the more it was like this, the more he loved life. He loved children even more. Maybe it was because he and Jing Qiu never had children. Or maybe it was because children represented hope and life. But at this moment the entire city, the bustling city was dead silent. Countless corpses were strewn all over the place. The stench of blood permeated the air. Dongbu Shuang could not bear to look at this scene. His entire body trembled. In your eyes, are we Xia people really like livestock? Dongbu Shuang clenched his fists so tightly that his knuckles turned white. Chapter 289. Palace Lord Chen, have you found anything? Dongbu Shuang suppressed his anger and asked Palace Lord Chen through telepathy. We can confirm that it's someone from the dark abyss. The master of the demon Feng Dong killed is called Nuan Nuan. Palace Lord Qin replied. We're still investigating, but we haven't found the team from the Dark Abyss yet. Let me know when you find them, Dongbui Shuang said. Snow Eagle, don't worry. We, the Xia people, will not let them off. Palace Lord Qin transmitted. Also, the leader of the Bloodshed Tavern team warned me to be careful of the team from the Dark Abyss. Dongbui Shuang immediately relayed Persei's words to Palace Lord Qin. Although he was filled with killing intent, he had to understand the opponent's strength. Soon, the two broke off communication. Shuang stood within this deathly silent county city, looking all around him. Currently, he was the only living person in the entire county city. Even though it was daytime, and the sun was still high up in the sky, when the wind blew over, it sounded like a faint howl of grief. The stench of blood permeated the surroundings, causing Shuang to feel as if he was in the nine hells. He felt a chill in his heart, a chill that seeped into his bones. It's a foreign race from the Dark Abyss. Dongbui Shuaying's eyes were filled with killing intent. Even if it was the remaining weak demons, they would not be able to kill too many humans in one go. It had been a long time since there was such a disaster. This kind of thing could not be hidden. Almost all the transcendents of the Xia people soon found out. They were all stunned, then furious. Palace Lord Qin had ordered the demigods of the Xia people to investigate, and other transcendents were not allowed to participate. The enemy was too strong. Ordinary transcendents would only be sending themselves to death if they tried. Damn it! Foreign race, foreign race. This is our homeland, the world of the Xia people. The transcendents of the Xia people were all furious and heartbroken. These strange races had actually come to their homeland and treated their own people as if they were slaughtering livestock. How could he tolerate this? On the summit of a high mountain where the cold wind whistled, a black-robed figure calmly stood atop the mountain peak. His face was as thin as bones, and his eyes glowed with a green light. As the cold wind blew, his black robes fluttered. He was the person the Xia people were searching for. Nuan nuan, swish. The space around them split open, and a beautiful woman in red immediately flew over. She respectfully presented a crystal ball with both hands, and her voice was filled with confidence. Master, I've collected over 100 million human souls. Very soon, many figures tore through space and rushed over, all of them offering the crystal ball with both hands. Master, only 60 million human souls have been collected. Master, I couldn't, all of them were nervous and apprehensive. They had received orders from their master to return immediately. All right. The black-robed man waved his hand, and all the crystal balls were put away. Then, his eyes glowed with a green light. Immediately, his eyes seemed to open up two passageways leading to the void. One by one, the servants flew into the black-robed man's eyes. I didn't expect that I would be discovered by the Xia people even though I moved so quickly. It's a pity that I didn't collect as many souls as I expected. The black-robed man spoke in a low voice. Then, with a flash, he entered the mouth of a volcano not far away. He quickly flew down the mouth of the volcano. Soon, he arrived at a huge magma lake deep within the mouth of the volcano. This magma lake spans several kilometers. Who? The black-robed man stood on the surface of the bubbling magma and said, General Ku Meng, wake up. His voice directly transmitted into the depths of the magma lake. Gugugu, the magma lake began to bubble, and the entire magma lake began to surge. Indistinctly, an enormous figure began to emerge from the depths of the magma lake. First, it was a huge bald head. His head was shiny, and he had no eyebrows or hair on his face. His entire face was smooth and clean. His enormous head was more than 200 meters tall, like a small mountain. The enormous head opened its mouth and yawned, and a turbulent flow of air caused the entire magma lake to shake. Noan, I haven't slept for long. The enormous head said, and at the same time, stood up. A towering figure stood up from within the magma lake. Although the magma lake was already very deep, it only reached the waist of the towering giant. This giant had no hair on his body, and his entire body was silver. As he strode forward, his body rapidly shrank. In just a dozen steps, he had become a normal height of 3 meters. General Ku Meng, I've already collected the souls. It's time to meet the Lord, the black-robed man said. His attitude could be considered polite. There was no other way. Among the 3 experts of the Dark Abyss team, although Nuan was incomparably tyrannical, he was still the weakest. This General Ku Meng was originally a high-rank demon from the purgatory. Due to some fortuitous encounters, he was able to cultivate a secret technique that allowed him to cultivate his body to its current state. Most importantly, his realm was extremely high. It could be said that there were no flaws. Meet the Lord. General Ku Meng was slightly startled, and his attitude immediately became much more respectful. Let's go. After exiting the volcano. On a wasteland next to the volcano, there was an ordinary-looking wooden house. A dark-skinned young man wrapped in white cloth was sitting cross-legged in the wooden house. Lord! Nuan and General Ku Meng respectfully called out. The black-skinned youth slowly opened his eyes. Under his gaze, the surrounding space and time seemed to freeze. He stood up. His feet were bare. He had no armor on his body, nor did he have any boots. He was only wrapped in ordinary white cloth, and his skinny black arms were bare as he walked barefoot. However, Nuan and General Ku Meng didn't even bother to breathe. Lord, according to the customs of the Dark Abyss, one could only become a lord after becoming a demon god. However, this black-skinned youth wrapped in white cloth had become a lord even though he was only a demigod. If it weren't for that great existence personally appearing and threatening him, this black-skinned youth wouldn't have gone to Crimson Rock Mountain and risked his life. It couldn't be helped. The Dark Abyss was a place where the strong preyed on the weak. Nuan, how is it? The black-skinned youth smiled. His smile carried a strange charm that seemed to quiet the entire world. I originally wanted to collect 1 billion souls, but I was discovered by Ghost Knight Feng Dong of Black-White Deity Mountain. He killed one of my ghost servants. I immediately ordered the rest of the ghost servants to withdraw to prevent the Xia people's demigods from intercepting us. Thus, I only managed to collect 600 million human souls, Nuan respectfully said. At the same time, he held a crystal ball in his hands. This crystal ball contained 100 million human souls. According to the Lord's orders, Nuan was to capture 100 million souls for him. The remaining 900 million were for Nuan himself. However, halfway through, Feng Dong had ruined it. Whoosh! A powerful suction force appeared. The black-skinned youth opened his mouth wide, and the crystal ball immediately flew over, directly into his mouth. The large crystal ball, the black-skinned youth's mouth seemed to be able to expand, and he actually swallowed it in one gulp. Even his head and throat had become a size larger. He forcefully swallowed the crystal ball. The countless human souls within the crystal ball wailed in anguish. Truly delicious. The black-skinned youth closed his eyes, a look of enjoyment on his face. The souls of humans in the material world are truly a delicacy. If we weren't forced to this place and had to risk our lives in Crimson Rock Mountain, it would be quite enjoyable. With Lord's strength, we will definitely be able to return safely from Crimson Rock Mountain, Nuan said. Live? The black-skinned youth's eyes were calm. Of course I will live. I, Yulan, will definitely return. Let's go, we'll first go to Black-White Deity Mountain. To Black-White Deity Mountain? Nuan and General Ku Meng were puzzled. The black-skinned youth indifferently said, Xia people's transcendent Feng Dong killed your ghost servant, which is equivalent to killing my servant. How can I just let it go? Chapter 290. Within the mirage. A ghostly figure was traversing at high speed. His speed was simply too fast. Every time he flashed, he would travel thousands of kilometers. This kind of speed was unquestionably the fastest amongst the transcendents of the Xia people. While traversing at high speed, his figure would occasionally enter the real world. He would pause briefly in the real world before returning to the mirage and continuing onward. This was a sickly-looking white-robed youth. He was Dongbu Shuang, who was searching for the Dark Abyss team. Perhaps I can't kill you, but I should at least try. Perhaps I can kill you, right? Dongbu Shuang muttered. Even if I can't kill you now, I'll find an opportunity after entering Crimson Rock Mountain. He had entered the real world to contact the outside world through his communication wristband. After all, many of the demigods of the Xia people were searching for him. If others found him, he naturally wouldn't have to waste time searching. However, in terms of efficiency, Dongbu Shuang, who could instantly scan an area of 10,000 kilometers, was also the best of the Xia people. Obviously, after 100 years, Dongbu Shuang was no longer the same person he was back then. At this time, the demigods of the Xia people, including Dongbu Shuang, were searching for traces of the Dark Abyss team and the enemy named Nuan Nuan. However, they would never have guessed that the team had already arrived at Black-White Deity Mountain. High up in the sky, a pitch-black tunnel appeared. 3 figures walked out of the tunnel. The one in the lead was the barefoot black-skinned youth wrapped in white cloth. On his left and right were the black-robed Nuan Nuan and General Ku Meng. Everything in the material world is so exquisite and beautiful. Look at this Black-White Deity Mountain. It's not like our Dark Abyss, crude and barbaric. We only know how to kill and not appreciate the beauty of all things. The black-skinned youth's voice carried a strange rhythm that calmed the hearts of those who heard it, making them want to crawl and follow him. Even the souls of the material world are so delicious. No wonder even the demon gods like them. The black-skinned youth laughed. When we leave Crimson Rock Mountain, we'll bring back more human souls. Lord, don't worry. When the time comes, we'll slaughter everyone in this mortal world and take away all the human souls, said Nuan Nuan. We still have to leave some behind. We have to leave some seeds behind. The black-skinned youth looked at the Black-White God Mountain. They've come out. In the distance, 4 figures appeared outside a large hall of the Black-White Deity Mountain. They were Mountain Lord He, Vice Mountain Lord Zhang Nua, Ghost Deity Knight Feng Dong, and Palace Lord Chen. Palace Lord Chen had sent his Chi avatar here to understand the details of the previous battle. The 4 of them had come out precisely because they sensed the spatial fluctuations in the outside world. Ghost Deity Knight Feng Dong coldly looked at the outside world. Suddenly, his pupils constricted as he stared at the black-robed man. That skinny, bone-like face and those green glowing eyes. The face of this black-robed man was exactly the same as Lord Nuan Nuan's head. Mountain Lord He, Palace Lord Chen, Vice Mountain Lord Zhang Nua, that black-robed man is Nuan Nuan, Ghost Deity Knight Feng Dong hurriedly transmitted. Yes, it's him. That's him. Previously, Mountain Lord He and the others had also seen the scene that Feng Dong had demonstrated, and they had seen the illusory skulls. They actually dared to come to the Black-White Deity Mountain. Ghost Deity Knight Feng Dong was furious. Don't be anxious, Mountain Lord He transmitted. Let's wait first. If they dare to come like this, they must have something up their sleeves. Moreover, the Black-White Deity Mountain's strength isn't enough. Let's wait a little longer. I'll bring Ding Jiu's battleship from the Infernal Palace. Palace Lord Chen transmitted. Small matters could not spoil great plans. As a demigod of the Xia people, he still had this bit of patience. In the distant sky, the 3 silhouettes stood there, seemingly ordinary. The leader, a barefooted black-skinned youth wrapped in white cloth, smiled and said, I didn't expect to see Mountain Lord He and Palace Lord Chen here. That's great. Let me introduce myself. My name is Yulan. You can call me Lords of Ulan. Lord? In front of the Great Hall, Palace Head Chen and Mountain Lord He were both puzzled. They knew too little about the Dark Abyss. The ancestor deities of the Xia clan would normally enter the deity world. As for those who entered the Dark Abyss, even though there were 6 in the history of the Xia clan, they were all traitors who joined the demonic faction. Naturally, they no longer had any contact with the Xia people. Therefore, they knew very little about the Dark Abyss. However, according to what they knew, only demonic gods had the qualifications to become lords. Although I was forced to come to the Xia people's world, the delicacy of human souls still makes me very happy. The lords of Ulan smiled. I just didn't expect that I would only send my servants to collect the souls of mortals. I didn't even target you Xia people transcendents. You Xia people transcendents were actually so daring to kill my servants. His words caused the anger of Palace Lord Chen and the others to surge. Tell me, you killed my servants and offended me. How should you apologize? The lords of Ulan asked. Apologize? Lords of Ulan, you ordered your servants to kill countless of my Xia people, and you still dare to ask us to apologize? You really make my Xia people so easy to bully. Palace Lord Chen snorted angrily. In front of me, Palace Lord Chen, you still dare to be so impudent. The lords of Ulan shook his head. I won't bicker with you. However, your Xia people transcendents, Feng Dong, killed my servants. This cannot be counted. My request is very simple. Compensate me with 30 deity-grade scrolls. This matter will be settled like this. I won't bicker with you Xia people. However, if I don't compensate, I'm afraid that your Xia people won't be able to accept the consequences. You killed countless of my Xia people, and you still want 30 deity-grade scrolls? Palace Lord Chen, Mountain Lord He, Ghost Deity Knight Feng Dong, and Vice Mountain Lord Zhang Nua were all so angry that they didn't know what to say. 30 deity-grade scrolls? How many scrolls did the entire Xia people have accumulated? The way he opened his mouth wasn't just an ordinary level of ruthlessness. Furthermore, he had clearly just killed countless Xia people, yet he still dared to take the initiative to kill his way to their doorstep. This was too much. Xia people, I advise you to listen to the Lord's orders. Otherwise, humph. The black-robed Nuan sneered. You will regret this, General Ku Meng said from the side. Right, there's one more thing I almost forgot. The lords of Ulan suddenly stretched out his hand. His arms suddenly expanded, becoming like a heavenly pillar. From the distant sky, he directly grabbed towards the front of the black-white deity mountain's main hull. The length of his arm was simply shocking. This scene caused Palace Lord Chen and the others to be shocked. Mountain Lord He angrily shouted, "Stop!" Hong Long, the entire black-white deity mountain's array was instantly activated. Since he saw the enemy, Mountain Lord He had long been vigilant. Many of the spatial sealing arrays had already been activated. At this moment, the true sealing array was activated. The huge black and white light barrier from before appeared out of nowhere and completely covered the entire black-white deity mountain, not leaving a single gap. The lords of Ulan's mouth slightly curled upwards. Golden runes appeared on his palm, and his 5 fingers were densely packed with golden runes. Pooh! His 5 fingers directly pierced the black and white light barrier. With a peng sound, the huge black and white light barrier instantly shattered, and the mountain guarding array was easily penetrated. What? Mountain Lord He was shocked. Even an era-suppressing transcendent can forget about breaking this mountain guarding array, yet he was able to do it so easily. Perhaps only an expert who has truly become a deity would be able to do this. A true deity? Quickly dodge. Palace Lord Chen anxiously transmitted. The 4 of them immediately scattered in all directions. Black and white moon. Kill. Mountain Lord He immediately controlled the deity artifact. Wang. 2 dazzling crescent moons appeared. The black and white moon were like 2 streams of light, guiding the power of the black-white deity mountain's array. As the strongest deity artifact of the black-white deity mountain, it was also compatible with the array, allowing it to display even more power within the black-white deity mountain. It had completely reached the level of an era-suppressing expert. Interesting. The lords of Ulan softly muttered. His palm directly grabbed towards the fleeing ghost deity knight Feng Dong. Suddenly, everything in the surroundings slowed down. Regardless of whether it was the fleeing Feng Dong or the intercepting black and white moon, their speed became very slow. Only the arm of the lords of Ulan, which was like a heavenly pillar, maintained its normal speed. His huge palm easily grabbed onto the fleeing Feng Dong. Then, it rapidly retracted, turning into a mere 10 meters long. The 5 fingers of the palm were still grabbing onto Feng Dong's waist. This, Mountain Lord He, Palace Lord Chen, and Vice Mountain Lord Zhang Nua were all stunned. This kind of strength was too terrifying. In the history of the Xia people, they knew that between the beast race and the Xia people, as long as one side produced a deity, the other side would completely retreat and give up on the entire mortal world. This was because the power of a deity was something transcendence could not resist. But this time, even though the Lords of Ulan was only a demigod, Mountain Lord He and the rest felt as though they were facing a deity. Feng Dong, don't worry. I won't kill you immediately. This is because I still want to ask for 30 deity-grade scrolls from your Xia people. The Lords of Ulan looked at Feng Dong. It's very simple. As long as you apologize to me and kowtow to me, I will spare your life. Apologize and beg for mercy? Kowtow? Feng Dong felt that all the power in his body had been sealed by the dark magic, but his eyes were still filled with anger. He could not forget the countless people who had died in the county city, and the survivors of the county city he had saved. Especially the terrified expressions of those youths. You foreign races, I can't wait to kill you, yet you still want to apologize and beg for mercy? Dream on. Feng Dong gritted his teeth. If you don't apologize and beg for mercy, I will kill you. The Lords of Ulan continued to smile. When facing the foreign races, there are only transcendents from the Xia people who die in battle. There are no transcendents from the Xia people who kneel and beg for mercy. Feng Dong raged. You really have guts. The Lords of Ulan smiled. Pooh! His enormous palms suddenly clenched, and the space around Feng Dong's body was completely shattered. Feng Dong's body was completely shattered. He looked at the Lords of Ulan with eyes filled with rage. Even in death, he did not lower his head. Transcendence from the Xia people, Feng Dong, died. Stop! An anxious voice came from the black-white deity mountain. Don't be anxious. The Lords of Ulan looked at the enraged Mountain Lord He and the rest and smiled. He killed my servant and refused to apologize and beg for mercy. Of course I have to kill him. Oh right, hand over the 30 deity-grade scrolls quickly. Otherwise, Feng Dong is just the beginning. What comes next will be even more unacceptable. When the Lords of Ulan laughed, they revealed their pure white teeth. Chapter 291. About 80,000 li away from the black-white deity mountain, there was a gigantic black warship, 1,000 meters long, floating in midair. This was the treasure of the Xia people, the Dingjiu warship. Cracks appeared in the surrounding space, and one by one, the demigods of the Xia people flew out. Hurry up! Everyone, hurry up! The team from the Dark Abyss has appeared at the black-white deity mountain. The hatch of the Dingjiu warship opened, and the demigods of the Xia people flew in one after another. Because of the orders from Palace Lord Chen, almost all the demigods of the Xia people had entered the Dingjiu warship within 2 breaths of time. Within the main hall of the warship, Mountain Lord He's avatar was here as well. Previously, his avatar had been searching for the enemy outside, but now, it had naturally entered the warship as well. Everyone, that team is incomparably tyrannical. We should hurry and set off, Mountain Lord He's avatar said. They massacred countless of our Xia people. This hatred must be avenged. No matter how strong they are, we must kill them even if we have to pay the price. Si Kong Yang, the Grand Elder Palace Head, City Lady Bu, and the other Xia people demigods were all filled with killing intent. Rumble, the Dingjiu warship tore through space, following the spatial passage towards the black-white deity mountain. No! Mountain Lord He's avatar's expression suddenly changed, revealing a pained expression. Damn it! What happened? The other 10 or so Xia people demigods looked towards Mountain Lord He. Feng Dong has already been killed. Mountain Lord, he said with a pained expression, this team from the dark abyss is extremely strong. The black-white deity mountain cannot stop them. They killed Feng Dong, and even demanded 30 deity-grade scrolls. Saying so, he immediately waved his hand. An image appeared beside him. It was the scene that had just happened. In the image, the barefooted black-skinned youth wrapped in white cloth suddenly stretched out his right hand. His right hand suddenly expanded like a heavenly pillar, and countless golden runes appeared on it, easily piercing through the protective array of the black-white god mountain. Moreover, under Mountain Lord He's all-out obstruction, everything in the surroundings slowed down. That huge palm easily grabbed Feng Dong and threatened him at the same time. Feng Dong would rather die than lower his head, but he was directly crushed to death by that huge palm. The demonstration sped up a little, and by the time it was over, the warship had already arrived at Black-White God Mountain. Although they had arrived, the group of Xia people demigods in the main hall of the battleship were silent. Their expressions were ugly. We, the Xia people, are transcendents. We will only die standing, not kneel to live. Si Kong Yang roared. Revenge. I must take revenge. Revenge. Many of the demigods of the Xia people were envious. Black-White God Mountain. Just as the lords of Ulan issued a threat, he suddenly frowned and looked not far away. Space was torn apart, and a huge black warship flew over. The warship easily entered the range of the Black-White God Mountain's array. The cabin door opened, and Palace Lord Chen's Chi doppelganger, Mountain Lord He, Vice Mountain Lord Zong Noa, and the other 6 transcendents of the Black-White God Mountain rapidly flew towards the cabin door. They came so quickly, the lords of Ulan said. Should we kill them? General Ku Meng roared. We won't make it. The lords of Ulan lightly shook their heads. They were very clear that in front of Ding Jiu's warship, it would be very difficult to kill or capture anyone. Speaking of it was slow. In reality, the moment the lords of Ulan arrived, Palace Lord Chen had already dispatched Ding Jiu's warship and many demigods. From the moment they were dispatched to the moment they arrived, only 3 breaths of time had passed. In 3 breaths of time, Feng Dong had died in battle. We've reached the crucial moment. The lords of Ulan transmitted, everyone, be careful. Don't stray too far from me. Although the Xia people are only a race in the mortal world, their ancestors have left behind many treasures. However, there are many treasures left behind by generations of ancestors who became gods. If they really are willing to pay any price, it will be troublesome. With the Lord here, the Xia people won't be able to resist, the black-robed Nuan Nuan said. Inside the warship, the demigods of the Xia people were all gathered here. As for the other 6 ordinary transcendents of the Black-White Deity Mountain, they were also gathered at the side of the hull. Mountain Lord he looked around him. Feeling the grief and anger of everyone present, he immediately said, everyone is very angry. I am also very angry. However, at this time, we must understand the difference in strength between us and the enemy. This team from the Dark Abyss is extremely powerful. Let's not talk about the other 2 experts. The leader of this team is called the Lords of Ulan. He should have grasped the true meaning of time deceleration. Furthermore, he should have cultivated a very terrifying demonic physique. The reason he dares to be so arrogant is because he has the true meaning of time deceleration. This is something we must be vigilant against. Time deceleration. The other teams don't dare to go head-to-head with us Xia people. Only they dare. So they are relying on time deceleration. Damn it. Everyone, what should we do? The demigods of the Xia people looked at each other. Although the individual strength of the Xia people was weak, their foundations were extremely deep. For example, the deity-grade scrolls. Just like how demigod-grade scrolls could display the might of a demigod, deity-grade scrolls could display the might of a deity grade. Apart from this, the Xia people also had other methods to protect their clans. However, normally, for example, if the demon beast race gave birth to a deity, the Xia people would not go head-to-head with them. This was because the power of a deity was inexhaustible. However, the number of deity-grade scrolls used was one less, and the number of treasures used was one less. Moreover, if they were to go all out, the chances of winning against a deity would be very slim. Even if they won, if they met with another crisis and did not have enough resources to support them, that would be the end of their race. Thus, the Xia people would not easily go head-to-head with them. They needed time to consider. This was because the mortal world had been forced to give up many times. Thus, the headquarters of the Black-White Deity Mountain, Water Daoist faction, Sea Deity Palace, and so on only had spirit arrays that could withstand the might of an era suppressor. After all, they were prepared to give up at any time. Only the infernal world, the Xia capital. That was truly the strongest. If the lords of Ulan were to attack the Xia capital, they would suffer greatly. However, he was no fool. He would not attack the base of the Xia people. The other teams are not willing to go head-to-head with us, the Xia people. Palace Lord Chen frowned. We are worried that with some deity-grade scrolls, the Xia people will be at a disadvantage or even lose their lives. However, this Lords of Ulan has grasped the true meaning of time deceleration. Even if we use the deity-grade scrolls, the moment he slows down time, he will have enough time to dodge and escape. That's right. Time-related true meanings are truly troublesome. Our killing techniques might not be effective. The demigods of the Xia people were having a headache. If they could not even touch the enemy's killing technique, what use was there for them to be powerful? Actually, the Time Deity Heart was a Grade 2 Deity Heart. The Space Deity Heart was also a Grade 2 Deity Heart. Only the Time-Space Deity Heart was a Grade 1 Deity Heart. However, the true meaning of time was classified as a Grade 1 true meaning. Why? It was because transcendence usually could not come into contact with the profound mysteries of time. This resulted in the true meaning of time having such a miraculous effect. Regardless of whether it was time acceleration, time deceleration, or even time stop, they all had terrifying effects during battles. Only after becoming a deity would one come into contact with some time-related techniques. At that time, the power of time would no longer be so exaggerated. But among transcendents, the true meaning of time was indeed heaven-defying. Wu Ma Hai and the other team leaders also wanted to obtain deity-grade scrolls. However, none of them dared to do so. Only the Lords of Ulan dared to do so. Because he had grasped the true meaning of time deceleration, he had the confidence to fight against the Xia people. Transcendence of the Xia people. The voice of the Lords of Ulan reverberated throughout the world. The walls of the Dingjiu battleship began to turn transparent, easily reflecting the outside world. Mountain Lord He, Palace Lord Chen, and the others could all see the three terrifying existences standing in mid-air outside. Why? The Dingjiu battleship of the Xia people has arrived. Is it here to deliver the deity-grade scrolls? The Lords of Ulan continued to laugh. Before that Feng Dong died, he said that the transcendence of the Xia people would rather die in battle than lower their heads. I don't believe that the Xia people will lower their heads in the face of absolute power, right? I'll go test him. Si Kong Yang was incomparably furious within the battleship. Then, you go test him first. Palace Lord Chen nodded. Si Kong Yang immediately flew out of the battleship. If the Xia people had another transcendent, the only one who would dare to face him head-on would be Si Kong Yang. This was because he possessed a special clan protecting treasure of the Xia people, the 9-dragon fire deity armor. Bang! Flying out of the battleship, a scarlet-red battle armor appeared on the surface of Si Kong Yang's body. On the scarlet-red battle armor were entrenched dragons. A terrifying might accumulated on the surface of his body, and at the same time, an incomparably dazzling flame rose. At this moment, Si Kong Yang's entire body was like a sun. The brilliance of the flames on the surface of his body even surpassed that of the sun in the sky. It was so dazzling, emitting an overbearing aura, and its might spread out in all directions. The 9-dragon fire deity armor was one of the clan protecting deity weapons of the Xia people. Its value far surpassed that of ordinary deity weapons. This was because when worn on the body, the might of 9 dragons would be added onto the body, allowing the user to instantly possess the might of 9 dragons. Purely from the aspect of might, it would directly rise to the deity grade. However, because his realm was too low, even when he wore the 9-dragon fire deity armor, he only had the strength of an era suppressor. However, there was one benefit. The 9-dragon fire deity armor could completely protect every part of his body. No matter how strong the enemy was, it would be hard for them to injure Si Kong Yang. 9-dragon fire deity armor. The lords of Ulan in the sky laughed. It's even more precious than my deity weapon. It's a pity that the person using it is too weak. Inside Ding Zhou's battleship. Get ready. Seize the opportunity and give him a fatal blow. The deity crystals of our Xia people are too scarce. We are preparing to deal with the sorcerer god and the great demon god. It would be best if we can kill the lords of Ulan in one strike. Palace Lord Chen looked towards Mountain Lord He. Don't worry. Mountain Lord He nodded, his eyes flickering with flames. Ding Zhou's battleship was a battleship of the deity world. Those who used battleships in the deity world were usually deities. Thus, the ordinary energy source was too weak. Even if Mountain Lord He's demigod magic power was still too weak, he would not be able to display the true might of this battleship. Deity crystals were the crystallization of the deity's deity power. They were extremely precious. Only by using them as the energy source of the battleship would the true might be displayed. First chapter. Chapter 292. Nuan, stop him, the lords of Ulan ordered as they watched Si Kong Yang charge towards them. Yes, Nuan immediately replied. Nuan's eyes glowed with a sinister light as he faced the blazing figure that resembled a dazzling sun. He let out a strange laugh and suddenly pounced towards Si Kong Yang. At the same time, Nuan's body completely disintegrated, turning into hundreds of balls of black mist. Each ball turned into an evil spirit, some handsome, some ugly, some seductive and some strange. The 100 evil spirits roared at the same time, Si Kong Yang, die. The 100 evil spirits roared in unison, but it sounded like a single person's roar. In fact, it was indeed Lord Nuan's roar. His body had already disintegrated into 100 parts, and each evil spirit was his avatar. With the support of his body, the strength of these evil spirits naturally soared. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The 100 evil spirits simultaneously surrounded Si Kong Yang. Extinguish. Si Kong Yang sent out a palm strike. Flames raged as a dazzling golden palm struck out. Ha ha ha, that's all you've got? Too weak. These evil spirits surrounded Si Kong Yang, and no matter how Si Kong Yang attacked, their bodies remained intact. Although the strongest of them was only in the top 10 of the demigod ranking, and most of them were only experienced demigods, they were all immortal. However, all of them had undying bodies and were very difficult to destroy. In an instant, Si Kong Yang was unable to break through their joint encirclement. Oh! The 100 evil spirits suddenly howled, their howls seemingly trying to bore into his soul. The flames on the surface of Si Kong Yang's body burned fiercely. That terrifying howl was blocked by the power on the surface of his body, and another 80 to 90% was blocked by the armor on the surface of his body. When he felt the remaining sound faintly piercing into his soul, with a thought, he almost completely isolated this howl. How troublesome! This 9-dragon fire deity armor can't be broken no matter what I do. Lord Nuan was infuriated. Even if he were to encounter an era suppressor, he would only know who was stronger and who was weaker after a fight. But Si Kong Yang, nothing could break through his defense. The lords of Ulan would probably have the same result. Thus, the lords of Ulan were too lazy to make a move. This Xia clan transcendent has a deity armor protecting his body. Otherwise, how could he have withstood Nuan's 10,000 ghost resentment? General Ku Meng coldly said. Just the ghost resentment poison alone is enough to drive him insane. He is relying on the 9-dragon fire deity armor. Such a good armor has been wasted in his hands. Unfortunately, the Xia people's treasures have been left behind by the gods of Xia people can't be used, so they can't be refined. Otherwise, I could have brought. As the lords of Ulan spoke, their eyes were fixed on Ding Zhou's battleship. They didn't care about Si Kongyang at all. Because Si Kongyang only had the strength of an era suppressor. He wasn't a threat to them. What was an era suppressor? Condensing a true deity heart with a grade 3 true meaning, or reaching the stage 3 realm with a grade 2 true meaning. Furthermore, wielding a deity weapon. That was the strength of an era suppressor. Power and the laws of profound mysteries were both indispensable. For example, Si Kongyang could borrow the power of the 9-dragon fire deity armor to reach the deity realm. But the laws of profound mysteries were only at the grade 4 deity heart. Faction head Si Kong is being held back by Nuan Nuan. In the main hall of Ding Zhou's battleship, the demigods of the Xia people were all anxious. They had hoped that Si Kongyang would fight with the lords of Ulan to distract the lords of Ulan. We can't care about that anymore. Palace Lord Chen frowned. Let's give it a try. Let's do it. And Mountain Lord he nodded. The deity crystal was a 4-sided rhombus cylinder. Its entire body was azure in color, and it was breathtakingly beautiful. At this moment, it was embedded in the engine compartment of Ding Zhou's battleship. Previously, Mountain Lord he had used his own magic power to control the battleship, but now, he retracted his magic power and began guiding the energy of the deity crystal to activate the battleship's array. The array was incomparably complex and was at the level of a deity. Mountain Lord he could only understand a portion of it and activate a portion of its power. Paw! A deep blue lightning bolt instantly streaked across the sky. It was like a terrifying deep blue serpent. The moment it appeared, the surrounding world faintly trembled. Everywhere it passed, space turned into nothingness, leaving behind only a pitch-black crack. Its might caused the hearts of Nuan Nuan, General Ku Meng, and even the lords of Ulan to tremble. This was the peak attack of the deity battleship of the Xia people. Even though they were already prepared to fight against the Xia clan when they decided to do so, they still felt the threat of death when facing this attack. Fast. Fast to the extreme. This terrifying deep blue serpent had almost instantly arrived in front of the lords of Ulan. Deity battleship. The lords of Ulan were constantly on guard. At this moment, their pupils shrank. The area around them, especially the area where the deep blue serpent was attacking, immediately experienced a change in the flow of time and began to slow down. Under this flow of time, the terrifying deep blue lightning bolt also began to slow down. However, even though it had slowed down, it was still shockingly fast. In an instant, it swept through the body of the lords of Ulan. Who? Only then did the body of the lords of Ulan slowly disappear. Tens of meters away, the body of the lords of Ulan appeared. This deep blue lightning bolt bombarded the entire way. In the blink of an eye, the top half of a distant mountain was silently turned into nothingness. In the blink of an eye, it had traversed 1,000 kilometers and directly rushed underground. This deep blue lightning bolt continued to penetrate more than 1,000 kilometers underground, forming a deep and serene cavern. It was only under the continuous obstruction of the invisible laws of the underground that it finally dissipated. The lords of Ulan secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, the true meaning of time deceleration was effective and did not force them to use their life-saving methods. Damn it, he actually dodged it. Just a little bit more. The group of demigods of the Xia people in the Ding Zhou battleship were anxious and unwilling. The arrays of the Ding Zhou battleship are too complex and mysterious. I only understand a little about them, Mountain Lord he said in a low voice. If my comprehension was higher, I would be able to unleash a greater power. He Yuan, this is a battleship from the deity world. Even deities have to carefully study it before they can unleash its full power. You are already the one among the Xia people who can unleash the greatest power of this battleship. Furthermore, this cannot be blamed on you. His true meaning of time deceleration is truly too troublesome. Palace Lord Chen was also anxious. Even when we attack, he can still decelerate time and calmly deal with it. If it were any other grade 2 true meaning, for example, offensive type, or purely defensive type, facing such a terrifying attack from the Dingjiu battleship, the majority of them would not be able to dodge in time and would be struck. The moment they were struck, they would most likely die. Ha ha ha, you Xia people are truly willing to spend. This attack has already consumed a deity crystal from you Xia people, right? Come, let's continue. Let me see how many more tricks you Xia people have up your sleeves, the lords of Ulan said coldly. Dongbua Shuang was currently traversing the mirage in search of the team from the dark abyss. Hua! He once again entered the real world. This was a beautiful and calm valley. Although he was searching, he would occasionally enter the real world to receive messages from the outside world. Snow Eagle, we have found the team from the dark abyss. Leave the rest to us. This was a message from Palace Lord Chen. Clearly, Palace Lord Chen was not willing to let Dongbua Shuang participate in this matter. He did not even tell Dongbua Shuang the location of the Black-White Deity Mountain. From his point of view, even if Dongbua Shuang were to participate, he would not be able to help much. Unless he were to enter the mirage and launch a sneak attack. He was still worried that Dongbua Shuang would lose his life because of this. The enemy was simply too strong. Other than Si Kong Yang, who relied on the 9-dragon fire deity armor, none of the other Xia people demigods could face them head-on. They had to rely on the clan protection treasures of the Xia people. Brother Dongbua, the team from the Dark Abyss have killed their way to the Black-White Deity Mountain. They massacred countless mortals of my Xia clan and even demanded 30 deity-grade scrolls. Even Senior Feng Dong was killed by the Lords of Ulan. He was killed in one move. Brother Snow Eagle, the battle at the Black-White Deity Mountain has begun. Senior Feng Dong died a terrible death. He was forced to kowtow and beg for his life. Senior Feng Dong would rather die than lower his head and was killed. Snow Eagle. News came one after another. These were all news from the Transcendents. One must know that the other Transcendents at the Black-White Deity Mountain had witnessed the scene and were enraged. Naturally, they spread the news. Palace Lord Chen had also ordered that the other Transcendents were not to interfere. The demigods were already preparing for battle. Although they were not allowed to participate, they still passed on the news. Naturally, the news reached Dongbua Shuang as well. Shuang looked through the many messages. Only then did he understand what had happened. His expression became uglier and uglier, becoming ashen and gloomy like water. Black-White Deity Mountain. Dongbua Shuang waved his hand and tore open a spatial crack. He instantly entered the crack and rushed towards the Black-White Deity Mountain. As he flew through the spatial crack, his body emitted the true meaning of extreme piercing as he broke through all obstacles. At the same time, Dongbua Shuang held a flask of wine in one hand and gulped down the antidote, 100 Bitter Restoration. As the antidote entered his body, the pain in his body was quickly suppressed. Although it was still painful, it did not affect his battle. The second chapter was over. There was still a third chapter to go. Star. Chapter 293. The cabin door of the gigantic, pitch-black celestial world warship that was hovering beside the Black-White Deity Mountain opened. Si Kong Yang quickly returned to the ship. This time, his main objective was to disturb the Lords of Ulan so that the killer move, Dingjiu warship, would be effective. Since he had failed, there was no point in continuing to fight. Thus, he returned at full speed. He was wearing the 9-dragon fire divine armor and had reached the divine level. If he insisted on leaving, even this team from the Dark Abyss would not be able to stop him. What should we do now? City Lady Bu furrowed her brows and said anxiously, what other ways do we have to deal with the Lords of Ulan? The most promising killer move has failed. Palace Lord Chen shook his head. Dingjiu's warship is a lightning serpent. It is extremely fast, but it is still lacking by a hair. Although the Xia people have many God-tier scrolls, the God-tier scrolls still need us to control and guide them. Tearing apart the deity-level scroll, then controlling it. The higher the realm, the more perfect the control. But no matter how perfect it was still not as good as when the gods used it personally. Our chances of success are very low. Palace Lord Chen was also vexed. Sigh, it's a pity that among the god-tier scrolls of the Xia people, there isn't one that can restrain the true meaning of time deceleration. Only after becoming a god will one gradually come into contact with the mysteries of time. Mountain Lord, he continued, when the ancestors of our Xia people first became deities, their comprehension of time was very low. Naturally, they were unable to refine any deity-grade scrolls that could counter the time deceleration. This is so frustrating, so frustrating. The Grand Elder Palace Master growled, hundreds of millions of clansmen were killed. Brother Feng Dong died in battle, but there was nothing we could do. Hate that we are not strong enough. Vice Mountain Lord Zhang Nua said in a low voice. The group of Xia people demigods were all furious and unwilling. But there was no other way. The enemy had come from the dark abyss. They were the true top-notch demigods that had been selected by a great existence. They had been selected from an extremely large area. How could the transcendence of a mortal world compare? Just as the transcendence of the Xia people were unable to think of a solution. Out of the three terrifying existences standing in mid-air, the leader of the Lords of Ulan smirked. He did not want to give the Xia people too much time and immediately said, Xia people, transcendence, you have two choices now. The first is to take out the clan protection treasures of the Xia people, as well as the divine-tiered scrolls and other treasures that you can use. Attack as you please. Dingzhou's worship, come and attack. Fight me to the death. The second choice is to obediently hand over the 30 god-tier scrolls, and I won't hold it against you for offending me. Two choices. Are we going to fight, or are we going to hand over the 30 god-tier scrolls? Take your pick. The Lords of Ulan continued to smile. I don't have time to waste with you. I'll give you 10 breaths of time to discuss. I have no choice but to have some fun. Even if you hide in Dingzhou's worship, the countless mortals of the Xia people's world won't be able to hide in there, right? I will kill them all, and not a single one will be spared. Don't doubt me, this is very easy for me. You only have 10 breaths of time. The countdown has already begun. The Lords of Ulan did not say anything else after finishing his sentence. On the other side, within the enormous Dingzhou's worship. Within the main hall of the worship, a group of demigods of the Xia people peered through the transparent walls at the barefooted, black-skinned youth wrapped in white cloth. He looked like an ordinary black-skinned youth. He did not have the scales or horns of an ordinary demon. However, all the demigods of the Xia people felt a chill run down their spines. This was the most terrifying demon they had ever seen. What do we do? What do we do? We have two choices. Do we fight, or do we surrender? In 10 breaths of time, he will begin his massacre. The demigods of the Xia people were incomparably anxious. Even the 6 ordinary transcendents of the black-white deity mountain in the main hall were extremely anxious. They all began to transmit messages to the outside world. The demigods also began to transmit messages and began to arrange for the mortals to quickly migrate. Just what should we do? Palace Lord Chen, Mountain Lord He, and Grand Elder Palace Head, who had extremely high statuses amongst the Xia people, were so anxious that their foreheads were covered in sweat. This was an extremely crucial moment. We can't surrender. We definitely can't surrender. We, the Xia people, will never surrender to a foreign race and offer our treasures. Si Kong Yang roared. If we don't surrender, are we supposed to fight? Pay countless treasures. When we face the sorcerer god and the great demon god in the future, what should we do? Mountain Lord, he said painfully, or flee without fighting. Watch as countless mortals of the Xia people are killed. Then what do you think we should do? Si Kong Yang anxiously asked. I don't know either. Mountain Lord, he shook his head and closed his eyes. His eyes were filled with tears. That's right. They really wanted to go all out and sacrifice all the resources of the Xia people to get rid of this damned Lords of Ulan. However, if they did that, they would probably face the sorcerer god and the great demon god in the future. The Xia people would probably be exterminated. A moment of joy would make them the sinners of the entire Xia people. Suddenly, the demigods of the Xia people in the warship turned their heads and looked through the cabin wall at the distant sky. In the distant sky, they saw a pitch-black crack in space. What? At this time, who dares to directly tear through space and rush over? The lords of Ulan and the other two who were waiting for the reply of the Xia people all turned their heads and looked into the distance. At this moment, both parties' gazes were gathered there. In the distant sky, from the crack in space, a white-robed youth flew out. "Oh, it's that Dongbu Shuang?" the lords of Ulan asked. When they were sent over, they naturally received intelligence on the experts of the Xia people's world, including information on Dongbu Shuang. "It's that Dongbu Shuang." Looking at his complexion, he must have been suffering from the voodoo poison. But why is this kid here? Does he want to die? The black-robed Nuan said. Perhaps he knows that he's about to die, so he wants to fight? General Ku Meng said with a low laugh. On the other side. On the side of the Xia clan, everyone was anxious. One must know that previously, the demigods of the Xia people had gathered in Ding Jiu's warship from afar. No one dared to come here directly. If they did, it would be very easy for them to be ambushed by the three terrifying demigods of the Dark Abyss. Why are you here? The cabin door of Ding Jiu's warship opened. Palace Lord Chen was incomparably anxious. Quickly come over. Why can't I be here? Dongbu Shuang smiled. Palace Lord Chen, this is your fault. You didn't even tell me about such a big matter. I only found out about the black-white deity mountain from the other transcendents. Don't forget. I'm also a transcendent of the Xia people. Palace Lord Chen's heart ached when he heard this. Quickly come over. Palace Lord Chen anxiously waved his hand. He knew that Dongbu Shuang was not afraid of death, but if his death was too worthless, would there be any meaning? He was worried that Dongbu Shuang, who was suffering from the voodoo poison, would take the risk. He could still control the other demigods of the Xia people, but Dongbu Shuang could walk through the Mirage realm. Ding Jiu's warship could not stop him. Snow Eagle, quickly come over. Si Kong Yang, who was beside Palace Lord Chen, appeared anxiously. However, Dongbu Shuang did not care about them at all. Instead, he flew towards the three lords of Ulan. Snow Eagle, are you crazy? Palace Lord Chen transmitted anxiously. What's the point of you going now? You're trying to be a hero, but it's useless. You're even throwing your life away. These three from the Dark Abyss are really very strong, especially the lords of Ulan. They are comparable to real gods. What are you going to do? If you die like this, I will only look down on you. However, no matter what he said, it was useless. Palace Lord Chen was also filled with hatred. If he had known earlier, he would have sealed the surrounding 10,000 li area. In order to conserve the energy of Ding Jiu's warship, he only sealed the surrounding 100 li area. It was mainly to prevent the lords of Ulan from teleporting into the warship. Dongbu Shuang flew in front of the black-white deity mountain, and also in front of Ding Jiu's warship. He stood in mid-air, facing the three lords of Ulan. Dongbu Shuang stopped in mid-air, and looked at the three. The three of you, the Xia people, have always treated you with respect, and did not want to offend you. You can fight however you want, the Xia people are not willing to get involved. But what about you? Shui Ying's voice was gloomy, yet you all slaughtered billions of my Xia clan's pigs and dogs, devoured and tortured their souls. Vice Mountain Lord Feng Dong merely did not kowtow or beg for mercy, yet you all killed him. What did he do wrong? He was only protecting us, the Xia people. Even so, you are not willing to give up. You still want us, the Xia people, to hand over 30 God-tier scrolls. If we don't hand them over, you will kill all the humans in the Xia people's world. Not a single one will be left alive. Dongbua Shui Ying's voice trembled slightly. The transcendents of the Xia people in Dingzhou's worship were all furious, and some of them gritted their teeth so hard that they almost broke. I don't like your tone. The lords of Ulan frowned. So, you can die now. As he spoke, he extended his right hand, and his arm expanded once more. You are the ones who deserve to die. Dongbua Shuang roared. A long spear instantly appeared in his hand, and the shaft of the spear flowed like a cloud of fire. Following that, Shuang disappeared into thin air, leaving no traces behind. The lords of Ulan, who were about to attack, frowned and slowly retracted his arm. Where is he? Where is he? Noa Noan and General Ku Meng's expressions changed, and they carefully probed. I heard that he has grasped the true meaning of shadow or the true meaning of mirage. However, if he is only at the first stage, it would be impossible for him to avoid my senses. The lords of Ulan frowned as they tried to sense their surroundings. However, no matter how hard they tried, apart from the group of transcendents in Dingzhou's worship in the distance, there was only nothingness. There was not a single transcendent in sight. There was only nothingness. Dongbua Shuang had disappeared just like that. Don't be anxious. I will deal with you one by one. Take your time. A familiar voice resounded between heaven and earth. This caused the lords of Ulan to carefully sense their surroundings. However, even though they could not find anyone, the voice still resounded everywhere. Noa Noan, you have slaughtered countless Xia people. The first to die will be you. *********************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** Chapter 294. The lords of Ulan, General Ku Meng, and Nuan all felt the scene in front of them change. Their consciousness was forcefully pulled into the mirage. "Humph, you want to confuse me with this bit of illusory technique?" The lords of Ulan coldly snorted. Their powerful consciousness instantly broke free, and the scene in front of them returned to reality. He, Ulan, had grown up in the boundless dark abyss from a weak and lowly demon. Step by step, he had slaughtered his way up to where he was today. General Ku Meng and Nuan were also extraordinary people. Their consciousness was not directly controlled by the mirage, and they instantly broke free. This is, although they had broken free, their expressions changed slightly. This was because countless white fog had appeared in reality around them. The white fog was vast and mighty, appearing in a 10,000-kilometer radius around them. The fog covered a 10,000-kilometer radius, blocking out the sunlight. Everything around us is an illusory field. The surface of the Lords of Ulan's body began to ripple. The ripples spread in all directions, causing the space they passed through to tremble. The white fog was also pulverized, preventing any white fog from invading a 5-kilometer radius around them. General Ku Meng and Lord Nuan stood not far from the Lords of Ulan. Both of them had the laws of profound mysteries protecting their bodies, allowing them to block the attack of the ripples. Within the range of my time domain, everything is an illusory field of white fog. The Lords of Ulan calmly looked at their surroundings. The illusory field is at least 1,000 kilometers wide. His true meaning isn't the true meaning of shadow, but the true meaning of mirage. With such a wide range, it's at least stage 2 of the true meaning of mirage. Before he makes a move, we won't be able to find any trace of him. Only when he makes a move, can we seize the opportunity to kill him. If they didn't make a move, no one would be able to find Dongbu Shuang. But once they made a move, it was also the moment when Dongbu Shuang's flaws were the most obvious. My lord, this Dongbu Shuang's attack is too weak. Even if I stand here, he wouldn't be able to injure me. General Ku Meng said confidently. This Dongbu Shuang actually dared to say that he wanted to kill me, and even arrogantly said that I would be the first to die. Lord, leave him to me. The black-robed man Nuan's eyes glowed with a green light as he looked around, emitting a biting cold killing intent. Yes. The Lords of Ulan nodded. In the dark abyss, there were plenty of opponents that were more terrifying and bizarre than Dongbu Shuang. The Lords of Ulan was very calm. From his point of view, his subordinates would be able to deal with this Dongbu Shuang. Ding Jiu's warship was also surrounded by white fog. Inside the warship, with the aid of the warship's probing ability, the white fog could not obstruct it at all. It could also clearly observe the three Lords of Ulan. Is this Snow Eagle's true meaning of mirage? Palace Lord Chen, Mountain Lord He, and the rest nervously watched. The other Xia people transcendents were also watching. Palace Lord Chen, please help us seal the surrounding 10,000 li of space. Suddenly, a voice resounded in the warship's main hull. Seal? Palace Lord Chen was startled. If we seal the space, the three of them will not be able to teleport away. I will have enough time to deal with them one by one. All right. Palace Lord Chen nodded. Mountain Lord He immediately controlled the entire Ding Jiu's warship. This time, he only needed to use his demigod transcendent magic power. When everything within 10,000 li of Ding Jiu's warship seemed to solidify. The power of heaven and earth was frozen, and the space was forcefully sealed. Isn't it too risky for Snow Eagle? Chi Bai whispered worriedly. It is indeed too risky. Although the true meaning of mirage is strange, how can he deal with the Lords of Ulan and the rest with just this? Palace Lord Chen shook his head. I've already advised him, but it's useless. I've fought with Nuan before. Si Kongyang frowned. He has a unique undying body. Even I couldn't injure him. Saying all this is useless. City Lord Bu coldly said, we can't stop Snow Eagle either. Let's just hope for Snow Eagle. Who knows, maybe he'll kill Nuan. The atmosphere was extremely tense. The Xia people transcendents all hoped that Dongbu Shuang would win and ruthlessly suppress the other party's arrogance. If only he could kill one, that would be even better. However, their rationality told them that killing an era suppressor expert was extremely difficult. Si Kongyang also had the power of an era suppressor with the 9 dragon fire deity armor, yet he couldn't even injure a single hair on Nuan's head. Kill? Apart from that, the Xia people transcendents were even more worried about Dongbu Ying's own safety. If he couldn't kill the enemy, he would die first. The Lords of Ulan floated in the air, waves of energy radiating in all directions. General Ku Meng was also very calm. The black-robed Nuan's green eyes were filled with killing intent as he carefully looked in every direction. At the same time, he sneered, Dongbu Shuang, come. Let me see how much. Before he could finish his words, a fiery red spear suddenly appeared out of thin air, carrying a terrifying killing intent as it fiercely stabbed forward. In an instant, it pierced through the layers of space, directly into the black-robed Nuan's head. Rip, the black-robed Nuan grinned maliciously, not even bothering to dodge. He allowed the spear to pierce through his forehead. Die! The black-robed Nuan opened his mouth and let out a terrifying roar. Following this roar, a terrifying soundless howl instantly followed the stellar fire cloud spear and penetrated through the void, directly into the mirage. At their level, they could already forcefully penetrate the mirage through extremely powerful attacks. Inside the mirage, Dongbu Shuang coldly watched as the soundless howl penetrated the mirage. The moment it entered the mirage, the howl's power was sharply reduced by 90%. The remaining power couldn't even shake the true meaning of stars that protected Dongbu Ying's body. The true meaning of stars was famous for its defense and power. Even in the real world, the howl of 10,000 ghosts wouldn't be able to shake him, not to mention that the attack was greatly reduced in the mirage. Ah! After the black-robed Nuan let out an angry roar, his expression suddenly changed. Damn it! Pang! The black-robed man's body suddenly exploded, turning into over 100 evil ghosts that scattered in all directions. The red-clothed bewitching woman, the demonic youth, the old man, all sorts of evil ghosts simultaneously let out low roars. Lord, this Dongbu Ying's spear technique is extremely terrifying. It brings with it extreme destruction. My body can't withstand it. He was still speaking. Pooh! A long spear once again pierced through the void. Fast as lightning. Apart from its speed, this spear also possessed a frightening sharpness. As soon as it appeared, it had already pierced into the body of an evil ghost. The evil ghost let out a mournful wail as its entire body began to disintegrate into nothingness. Pooh! 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 The long spear appeared again and again from the void. Each time, it would stab into an evil ghost and destroy it. Even Nuanua's possession was useless. Amazing, too amazing. The transcendence of the Xia people in Dingzhou's worship watched with excitement. Previously, they had been worried about Dongbu Shuiying's safety, but now, they were being slaughtered. Even I can't kill these evil ghosts, but Snow Eagle can kill one with a single spear strike. Si Kongyang revealed a look of surprise. Amazing. Just having great strength is really just a joke. You also need to have a powerful understanding of the laws of profound mysteries, otherwise you won't even be able to use your strength. Snow Eagle's true meaning of extreme piercing can indeed destroy that undying body. He doesn't even need to use it many times, as he can kill it with a single move. I didn't expect Snow Eagle's strength to have improved so much in the past few years. Palace Lord Chen revealed a slight smile. They had guessed that Dongbu Shuiying would definitely have improved, but they had previously guessed that the improvement would not be too great. Now, however, it seemed that he was much stronger than they had expected. He can actually kill an evil ghost with a single spear strike. General Ku Meng was astonished. Such a powerful attack. The Lords of Ulan frowned. It has the power of a Grade 2 true meaning Stage 3 realm. However, extreme piercing is a true meaning that walks the path of extreme attacks. My guess is that Dongbu Shuiying should only be at the peak of Stage 2 realm. Extreme piercing, even if it's only at the peak of Stage 2 realm, its destructive power is comparable to that of an ordinary Grade 2 true meaning Stage 3 realm expert, General Ku Meng said worriedly. This destructive power is already very terrifying, even stronger than the number 1 demigod of the Xia people. Compared to Nuan, he only lacks a deity weapon. A Grade 2 true meaning Stage 3 expert wielding a deity weapon would normally have the strength to suppress an entire era. Dongbu Shuiying's extreme piercing had the power of a Grade 2 true meaning Stage 3 realm expert. All he lacked was a deity weapon. To them, a deity weapon would only increase their combat power by a few times. Even though he was lacking a deity weapon, it was still slightly weaker, but at least both sides were on the same level. You're wrong. You're underestimating this Xia people transcendent who was tortured by the voodoo poison, the Lords of Ulan said solemnly. He's even stronger than Nuan. If he only had extreme piercing, he would be slightly weaker than Nuan. However, he still has the true meaning of mirage. The true meaning of mirage paired with extreme piercing is a true meaning that would make any enemy tremble in fear. Asterisk. Chapter 295. If Dongbu Shuiying had only relied on the true meaning of extreme piercing to kill the Temporal Temple's reincarnators, the outcome would have been uncertain. Even the true meaning of star and extreme piercing were extremely taxing. After grasping the true meaning of mirage, the difficulty of the opponent's mission immediately rose from hard to nightmare. Walking through the mirage, he could kill as he wished. The opponent could not resist at all. He can attack at any time, and he can catch them off guard. The moment he attacks, his spear will be right in front of him. If he doesn't attack, you won't be able to find him. The combination of two true meanings. He can completely suppress Nuan. Power isn't always better when it's stronger, but when it's unleashed. And with his two true intents working together, every single spear of his is extremely vicious. The Lords of Ulan shook their heads. Most importantly, if he doesn't attack, we won't be able to find him. Furthermore, his spear is extremely fast, and he retracts it as soon as it's unleashed. We won't be able to surround him. Extreme piercing was already extremely fast. Just how fast was Dongbush Shuiying's spear? He retracted it as soon as it was unleashed. The advantage of numbers was useless. Will Nuan be killed? General Ku Meng asked. Nuan's strength is enough to suppress an entire era in the mortal world. How could he be killed so easily? This Dongbush Shuang only managed to suppress him because of the combination of two true meanings. But is it just suppression? Are you going to kill him? It's hard to say who will live and who will die. The lords of Ulan smirked. Look, Nuan is starting to go all out. It's not easy to survive in the dark abyss until now. Ah! A large group of evil spirits roared in unison. Dongbush Shuang, I want you dead. Suddenly, a pair of huge, strange, green eyes appeared in midair. These eyes were Nuan's divine weapon. The pair of gigantic eyes glowed with a green light, forming two paths of green light. Countless evil spirits flew out from the green eyes. The remaining wraiths in the surroundings also converged towards the giant green eye. What's going on? Inside the mirage, Dongbush Shuang frowned. Why are there so many evil spirits? This, far away on Dingzhou's warship, the Xia people's transcendents were also stunned. Previously, a mere 100 evil spirits were already so difficult to deal with, but now, hundreds of evil spirits had rushed out in an instant, and there were even more evil spirits madly rushing out from the two green eyes. In almost the blink of an eye, tens of thousands of evil spirits had appeared, all of them exuding a ferocious aura. These evil spirits seemed to be in a bit of a mess, and all of them were howling. Following that, the tens of thousands of evil spirits were attracted by an invisible force and quickly gathered towards the center. Countless terrifying energies surged. A gigantic evil spirit appeared. This evil spirit's entire body was pitch black and it had fangs. Its eyes shone with a green light and there were 9 black horns on its head. The endless ferocious aura emanating from its body engulfed heaven and earth, strangling the surrounding fantasy domains. Not a single fantasy domain could approach within 10 kilometers of it. So powerful. Inside the mirage, Dongbush Shuang was inwardly shocked. What a powerful aura. It's much stronger than before. 10,000 ghost body. Didn't Nuan cultivate the 100 ghost body? General Ku Meng transmitted his voice in shock. Of course he doesn't have the 10,000 ghost body. If he did, it would be very difficult for me to defeat him. He raises tens of thousands of evil spirits, but normally, he can only control 100 at most. Right now, he's putting his life on the line. With the help of the divine weapon, he forcefully swallowed all the evil spirits and formed the 10,000 ghost body. Look, his whole body is surging with power, and he can't restrain it at all. It's obvious that he can't control it. Look at his eyes. Even his consciousness is a bit chaotic, but that's enough. The Lords of Ulan revealed a smile. The Lords of Ulan immediately transmitted their voice. Nuan. I'll help you. I'll control the flow of time in the area around you. However, Dongbush Shuang is proficient in extreme piercing, which can forcibly penetrate through the obstruction of time and space. My time flow control will only be of partial use. You'll still have to rely on yourself. Remember, Dongbush Shuang has a fatal weakness. The voice of the Lords of Ulan transmitted into the ears of the 10,000 ghost body Nuan. Nuan also transmitted his voice, Lord, don't worry. I know his fatal weakness. My death howl just so happens to restrain him. Suddenly, a spear suddenly appeared from the void behind Nuan. Everything around him slowed down, but the stellar fire cloud spear continued to forcefully penetrate through the obstruction of the time flow. It was still trying its best to penetrate through the obstruction of time, but inevitably, its speed was still somewhat slow. Nuan suddenly turned his head. His head immediately turned, but his body didn't move. He opened his ferocious, fanged mouth. Roar! At the same time, a pair of large hands with jet black nails struck the spear as fast as lightning. Pooh! The stellar fire cloud spear directly pierced into the towering Nuanua's head. His head was 2 meters tall, so after being pierced by the spear, part of his skull caved in. However, it quickly recovered. The stellar fire cloud spear quickly retracted. However, due to the influence of the time flow, it was still struck by the thug. My death howl is enough to kill you. Nuan was incomparably confident. The true meaning of mirage isn't good at defense, and extreme piercing is even worse. You don't even have any chi protecting your body. Perhaps you have a deity warrior? Deity warriors don't fear soul attacks, but they can also ignore soul attacks. Let's see how you block them. Transcendent mages usually research the soul. However, normal soul attacks wouldn't be too powerful. Transcendents could rely on their own souls to resist it. But Nuan was different. Nuan had condensed a true deity heart with the grade 3 true meaning of death. Using the deity heart of death as the core and the 10,000 ghost body to unleash the death howl, this was definitely an extremely terrifying soul attack. Deity warriors and armors were all very weak when dealing with soul attacks. Transcendent chi and transcendent magic power were the special powers of transcendence and had relatively better effects. True meanings were still the best. True meanings were mysterious, and some true meanings that specialized in defense could completely block them. Within the mirage, Nuan, who had the 10,000 ghost body, slapped the spear with his huge hands. When the force was transmitted into the mirage, the impact was immediately reduced. Dongbua Shui Ying's right hand, which was holding onto the end of the spear, could feel that the impact was very, very weak. Without the spear handle to transmit the force, such a pure force wouldn't be able to enter the mirage. Oh, that furious roar was the truly terrifying one. The roar actually formed black ripples visible to the naked eye. The howl of the 10,000 ghost body. The death howl. Ordinary peak-level demigods would probably be killed instantly if they were to hear this howl. When the black ripples entered the mirage from the real world, their power was immediately reduced by 90%. However, the remaining 10% still invaded Dongbua Shui Ying's body. On the surface of Dongbua Shui Ying's body, there was the true meaning of star protecting him. All these years, although he had always been researching spear techniques, he didn't deliberately try to comprehend true meanings. However, there were times when not being deliberate could result in miraculous results. Just like Dongbua Shui Ying's research on spear techniques, he pursued speed. The more he pursued it, the faster his extreme piercing improved. Naturally, his extreme piercing had been upgraded. Until now, his extreme piercing, true meaning of star, and true meaning of mirage had all reached the peak of stage 2. The main reason was that it was very difficult to break through each stage. Dongbua Shuang had been stuck at the peak for a few years now. Under the cultivation of the true meaning of star, his entire body was like a star. Strength and defense were its forte, while gravity was only a side effect. The true meaning of star on the surface of his body was as dense as the stars. The black ripples invaded his body, but were completely blocked by the true meaning of star. Actually, even in the outside world, when faced with the 10,000 ghost body's death howl, he would at most be injured. He could resist it in the outside world. Inside the mirage, with the true meaning of star, he was even more unharmed. Is he dead? The enormous Nuan asked expectantly. Pooh! A spear that resembled a flowing cloud of fire pierced out once again, leaving Nuan disappointed. He actually didn't die. Not only Nuan, but even the lords of Ulan and General Ku Meng were disappointed. It must be the 6 ghosts' resentment. He has been tormented by the hexing poison for many years, tempering his spirit and willpower. However, I have the 10,000 ghost body, so I can resist it better than you. I'm sure he'll be dead after 8 to 10 times. Nuan immediately calmed down. Facing the spear that was affected by the flow of time, he was still hit every time. Not only was extreme piercing fast, but it could also pierce through space. By the time it reappeared, it would already be inside his head. Too sinister. Ho, 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 the terrifying howl of death. With the profound mysteries of the true deity heart condensed from the grade 3 true meaning of death as its core and the myriad ghost body as its foundation, the howl of death was extremely terrifying every time it was released. Inside Ding Jiu's battleship, the transcendents of the Xia people were all anxious and worried. The death howl produced black ripples that spread outwards. Everything within a 50-kilometer radius, including the leaves, soil, and stones on the ground, was first scorched, then shattered into nothingness. This is an attack infused with the true meaning of death, Mountain Lord, he said. Furthermore, it targets the soul. Even the soil and stones on the ground were turned into nothingness by the ripples. This attack is even more terrifying against the soul. Although Snow Eagle has the green armored protector, it isn't specialized in defending against the soul. Can Snow Eagle hold on? His body is so weak, Si Kong Yang said worriedly. AI, Palace Lord Qin said anxiously. Even if the gigantic Nuan was stabbed 8 to 10 times by Dongbu Shuang, his body would not change much. Clearly, the 10,000 ghost body was very resilient. Could Dongbu Shuang hold on? Snow Eagle, Palace Lord Qin said anxiously. However, he couldn't even send a message because Dongbu Shuang was in the mirage. Dongbu Shuang's spear attacks were extremely fast. One spear after image after another attacked Nuan from all directions. 10 spear strikes, 20 spear strikes, 30 spear strikes, how can he still hold on? The gigantic Nuan's body was gradually shrinking. Every time he was stabbed, the energy within his body was being consumed. This shouldn't be the case. The true meaning of extreme piercing and the true meaning of mirage aren't defensive true meanings. He doesn't even have any chi, so how can he hold on? Lords of Ulan found it hard to believe. 50 spear strikes, 60 spear strikes, no. Nuan's body shrank faster and faster as he screamed in fear. Nuan couldn't believe it. He was able to survive until now in the dark abyss and was an existence that could suppress an entire era in the mortal world. How could someone as powerful as him die so easily? Chapter 296. General Ku Meng looked at the despairing Nuan in the distance, then at the lords of Ulan beside him. My lord, can you think of a way to save Nuan? General Ku Meng transmitted. How? Dongbu Shuaying's attack comes without warning, and he withdraws his spear in an instant. There's nothing I can do about it. The lords of Ulan calmly replied. He actually had a way, but it was meant to be used to save his life at the critical moment of entering Crimson Rock Mountain. How could he be willing to use it to protect Nuan? To him, Nuan was just a helper, and the main force of this treasure hunt was him. Be it Nuan or General Ku Meng, they were far less important than him. The lords of Ulan watched with interest. Nuan's incomplete 10,000 ghost body and his death cries are all useless. This Dongbu Shuang doesn't have any fighting chi either. Could it be some kind of treasure? Or could it be that he's grasped some kind of protective true meaning? Suddenly, the enormous Nuan let out a mournful cry. His face was malevolent, and his cry seemed to contain countless voices. I can't accept this. I can't accept this. Nuan's shrill cry was clearly audible amidst the countless howls. Boom, the enormous 10,000 ghost body exploded. The terrifying power it contained exploded in an instant, spreading out in all directions. This explosion was definitely at the level of a deity. The 10,000 ghost bodies backlash. The lords of Ulan frowned. The terrifying impact had reached them in an instant. Although it was very powerful, it was spread out in all directions, so its power was scattered. The farther the impact was, the weaker its power became. By the time it reached General Ku Meng and the lords of Ulan, the threat had been greatly reduced. General Ku Meng's silver body stood in front of the lords of Ulan, using his own body to resist the impact. Rumble, it was like a reef in the water, unshakable. It actually self-destructed, General Ku Meng said in a low voice. It's normal. The lords of Ulan watched as a hand appeared out of thin air in the distance and grabbed the treasures left behind by Nuan. The lords of Ulan's tone didn't change. Clearly, they wanted to snatch Nuan's treasures. Who could be faster than Dongbu Shuang in the mirage? Nuan's realm isn't high enough to begin with. He can barely maintain the 10,000 ghost body, so he won't be able to hold on for long. Under Dongbu Shui Ying's relentless attacks, he grew more and more desperate. His will was shaken, and in an instant, he was devoured by the will of the 1,000 ghosts. The 10,000 ghost body can no longer be maintained and self-destructed. The lords of Ulan shook their heads. He was defeated. Most importantly, Dongbu Shuiying's defense was much stronger than what we had expected. I suspect that he had some sort of mystical treasure protecting his body, or some other kind of formidable defensive intent. Protective intent? General Ku Meng was astonished. Extreme Piercing and Mirage aren't specialized in protective abilities. If it wasn't a mystical treasure, then he might have mastered another defensive intent. The lords of Ulan laughed. This Xia people's transcendents are truly formidable. However, he's still too young. His Extreme Piercing and Mirage are both at the peak of Stage 2. He hasn't even reached Stage 3. I doubt he'll be able to harm you. And then, General Ku Meng nodded. His greatest accomplishment was his body. His tyrannical body was enough to suppress Nuan inside Ding Zhou's warship. Although the lords of Ulan and General Ku Meng calmly received the commotion, the Xia people's transcendents were truly moved. They had seen the enormous Nuan explode. Although Ding Zhou's warship had suppressed the destructive might, it had still scorched the surrounding area of 1,000 li. Of course, the black-white deity mountain was protected by a protective array. It was able to withstand attacks from all directions. An existence that could suppress an entire era. He died just like that. Snow Eagle killed him. The Xia people's group of demigods looked through the transparent walls of the ship to see the dazzling scene of the explosion. It was like a gigantic firework. However, this firework represented the fall of an existence that could suppress an entire era. He didn't rely on the Xia people's protective treasure, but on his own strength. Just like that, Dongbu Shuang killed Nuan. The might of Nuan's 10,000 ghost body made them feel incomparably fearful from afar. However, he was still killed. Snow Eagle is already the #1 expert of our Xia people. Mountain Lord, he revealed a smile and said in a carefree manner, even Elder Ao Lan, the Fire Demon Emperor, and even the mysterious third priest of the demonic faction, are no match for Snow Eagle. He already possesses the strength to suppress an era. He doesn't even need a deity artifact to be this powerful. Palace Lord Chen nodded. Right. Other than the foreign races, at least in our Xia people's world, he's already the strongest. Ha ha ha. Si Kong Yang laughed heartily. Awesome. Awesome. He's from my Water Daoist faction, and I'm even his master in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world. Faction head Si Kong, stop showing off. You even reprimanded Snow Eagle and made Snow Eagle comprehend the true meaning of water and fire, Gong Yu said with a smile. Formidable, formidable. An era suppressor. The group of Xia people's demigods exclaimed in admiration, their hearts surging. Dongbu Shuiying's existence as an era suppressor was proven by killing an era suppressor. Clearly, even though he had 3 grade 2 true meanings, all of them were at the peak of the Stage 2 realm. But the combination of Extreme Piercing, Mirage, and Star was even more frightening than a Stage 3 true meaning. Nuan had proven all of this. But judging from their team's appearance, Nuan should be the weakest among the team from the Dark Abyss. Palace Lord Chen looked into the distance. Look, even after Nuan's death, the Lords of Ulan's expression didn't change at all. And then the Xia people's demigods felt their hearts sink. They had all witnessed the scene of the Lords of Ulan's actions. They had seen how easily they crushed the mountain array of black-white deity mountain and crushed Feng Dong to death. That was definitely the power of a deity. There was a fundamental difference between this and an era suppressor. At the headquarters of the Temple of the Earth God. Within the garden. Amen. The team from the Temple of the Earth God from the deity world, consisting of the red-haired man Bo Bo, the tall and skinny man Ba Han, and the golden-armored young master Wu Ma Hai, all turned their heads to look in a certain direction. With their perception of space, they could sense a terrifying undulation several tens of thousands of kilometers away. Even if their perception was weak, they could still deduce how powerful the undulation was. This was the result of Nua Nua and's 10,000 ghost bodies' self-destruction. The commotion was so great that not only the Temple of the Earth God sighed, but the entire mortal world could faintly sense it as well. What a powerful undulation! It's coming from several tens of thousands of kilometers away. The strength of the undulation should be at the deity realm. Wu Ma Hai's eyes glinted as he stood up. Come, let's go take a look. Perhaps it's one of the opponents we'll encounter when we enter Crimson Rock Mountain. Let's go. Ba Han and Bo Bo also stood up. Rip, the three of them instantly flew into the sky, tore open a spatial tunnel, and rushed towards Black-White Deity Mountain. They weren't the only ones. The other teams that had sensed the undulation also headed towards it. Within the mirage, Dongbua Shuang was currently examining the treasures left behind by Nua Nua and the deity artifact. Looking at the pair of glowing green eyes, Dongbua Shuang instantly stored them into his storage treasure. That mighty existence from the dark abyss had most likely left behind some sort of trick to send down a deity artifact. Refining it wouldn't be easy. But no matter what, he didn't even have battle chi, so there was no way he could refine it. Following that, he picked up a storage ring and dripped a drop of blood from his finger into it. To a transcendent, refining an ownerless treasure was still very easy. They could use Do Chi, magic power, or even soul force, or even blood. Even the most ordinary of mortals without battle chi or magic power could use a formation and use their blood to recognize a master. After claiming ownership of the ring, Zhang Xian immediately discovered that there were crystal balls floating in the storage ring. Each of the crystal balls contained the wailing of countless vengeful souls. Dongbua Shuiying's face was ashen as he muttered, "Damn it." Suddenly, he sensed something and raised his head. 10,000 kilometers away, space tore open and experts flew over. The first to appear were the old man, the Meishan master, the black-robed man, and the white-robed girl. It seems like they sensed the terrifying explosion just now. Dongbua Shuang understood. I didn't think that the Meishan master would have companions. Soon, another team arrived. Another spatial tear opened, and the leader of the Bloodshed Tavern team, Persei, and two of his subordinates flew over. Two more teams followed closely behind. One was from the Temple of the Earth God, and it was the golden-armored youth, Wu Ma Hai, and his two subordinates. The other team was a golden-robed youth, a muscular man, and a bewitching woman. 5 teams. Dongbua Shuang waited for a bit, but no more teams arrived. Chapter 297. The majestic black-white deity mountain was surrounded by scorched earth, and the white mist had temporarily disappeared. Hovering in midair above the scorched earth were the lords of Ulan and General Ku Meng. They were facing Ding Jiu's warship from afar, and they were very calm. The lords of Ulan's expression changed slightly as they looked into the distance. 4 teams had arrived. Oh, so these are the teams from the Dark Abyss? The leader of the last group to arrive was a smiling golden-robed youth. He casually said, "What's going on?" According to the rules of the Temporal Temple, sending a powerful demigod down will usually result in 2 more being sent down. Why are there only 2 from the Dark Abyss left? Could it be that one of them is already dead? Did he die at the hands of the Xia people? Although the Xia people are weak, they are not to be trifled with due to their long history. His subordinate is probably dead. The leader of the Temple of the Earth God's team, the golden-armored youth, Wu Ma Hai, also laughed evilly. I am Persei. And you are? The leader of the Bloodshed Tavern, Persei, was the most polite. Wu Ma Hai. The golden-armored youth replied. The golden-robed youth's smiling gaze landed on the distant Meishan master. He grinned and said, Wu Huang, I heard that you have already broken free from the temporal temple's control. I didn't expect that you would also get involved this time. Haha, it has been a long time since we last met. I still haven't forgotten the battle we had back then. The Meishan master frowned. Ken Huang, do you want to start a war? There's no need for that. Our enemies in the Crimson Rock Mountain are the dangers within. Perhaps we can even cooperate with each other. The golden-robed youth laughed mischievously. The Meishan master grunted in response, but did not say anything else. The two of them were reincarnators of the temporal temple and had fought against each other before. Of course, the Meishan master had already regained his freedom. Stupid Nua Nua, and the lords of Ulan cursed inwardly. Even his death attracted a few others. However, he was not worried. This was because they all had rather detailed information on Crimson Rock Mountain. They did not need to fight each other in order to challenge Crimson Rock Mountain. They only needed to overcome the many dangers of Crimson Rock Mountain to obtain what they wanted. They could even work together. This was also the reason why the Bloodshed Tavern team was willing to bring Dongbush Shuang along. They were not afraid that Dongbush Shuang would snatch the treasures from them. The lords of Ulan looked at Ding Jiu's warship in the distance and said coldly, Enough. Xia people, do you think you can threaten me with just Dongbush Shuang? I advise you to hand over the God-tier scroll obediently. He had run out of patience. Hand over the God-tier scroll? A voice filled with suppressed anger and killing intent rang out. A white-robed young man appeared out of thin air. It was none other than Dongbush Shuang. Lords of Ulan. Dongbush Shuang's eyes were filled with raging flames. A crystal ball appeared in his right hand. Paw! It directly shattered, and the countless vengeful spirits within the crystal ball howled as they flew out. Then, they disappeared without a trace under the guidance of the laws of heaven and earth. Did you see that? Did you see those vengeful spirits? Dongbush Shuang took out one crystal ball after another filled with countless vengeful spirits. He crushed them, allowing these vengeful spirits to return to heaven and earth. He was killed by you. You killed countless vengeful spirits of my Xia people. They had no enmity with you and were living a peaceful life. Yet, you slaughtered them all. Even their souls were tortured to the point where they were filled with vengeful spirits. You still want the God-tier scroll? Dongbush Shuang's voice was cold. However, beneath the coldness, it was as though he was suppressing a volcano. He crushed the crystal ball one by one. Countless vengeful spirits returned to heaven and earth. This scene caused the transcendence of the Xia people in Ding Jiu's warship to stare at the scene. Their hearts were filled with discomfort. Oh! I forgot to mention. I've eaten 100 million of the souls of your Xia people. The lords of Ulan licked their teeth, revealing their pearly whites. How delicious! No wonder the demonic gods of the dark abyss love the souls of humans in the material world. Absolutely delicious! Dongbush Shuang's eyes narrowed. He was so angry that his chest felt like it was about to explode. At this moment, Wang! A gigantic illusory skull appeared beside the lords of Ulan and General Ku Meng. The skull was wearing a helmet, and beneath the helmet was a pair of dark yellow eyes that seemed to be filled with an endless sea of death. Although it was just an illusory skull, and not a world projection, it still caused Dongbush Shuang and the leaders of the other 4 troops to feel uncomfortable. Great Demon God! The lords of Ulan and General Ku Meng bowed slightly. Dongbush Shuang immediately understood that this illusory skull was the great existence that had arranged for the lords of Ulan to descend. From the appearance of the skull, it was not the same great demon god that the demonic god society worshipped. Great demon god, in the words of the deity world, he was a world deity. It represented one's strength. Of course, there was a huge difference between world deities. With the price that the temporal temple charged for sending demigods, the price to send a demigod like the lords of Ulan was extremely terrifying. At the very least, the ancestors of the Xia people would not be able to afford it. Those who were willing to pay such a price were usually not ordinary world deities. They were ordinary great demon god. The illusory skull stared at Dongbu Shuang. Human, you actually dared to kill my subordinates. They massacred countless Xia people. Why can't I kill them? Dongbu Shuang said coldly. Oh, interesting. You really have guts and potential. No wonder De Air Hao and the others wanted to eliminate you. I didn't think that your strength would improve so much after 100 years. I really want to know what expression De Air Hao and the sorcerer god would have when they find out that your strength has increased. This is really interesting. The illusory skull laughed. He did not bicker with Dongbu Shuang because there was no need to. If this was the dark abyss, these insects would not dare to be so arrogant. But this was the mortal world. Yulan. The illusory skull looked at the lords of Ulan. We haven't even entered Crimson Rock Mountain and Noa Noa and is already dead. Humph, great demon god, don't worry. If I don't succeed, only death awaits me. I will do my best. Right now, I am thinking of ways to increase my chances of success. The lords of Ulan frowned. As long as you understand that failure means death. The illusory skull nodded. They had all signed an abyssal oath. The abyssal oath had the most terrifying restrictions on life forms of the dark abyss. Even the temporal temple could not save them. If they violated the oath, unless the other party was willing to rescind it, they would die. Hua! The illusory skull immediately dissipated. The four teams watching from afar were all shocked. From the conversation just now, they had already deduced that Noa Noan had died at the hands of Dongbu Shuang. He killed Noa Noan. The red-haired man from the temple of the earth god, Bo Bo, exclaimed, how is that possible? Is he that strong? Or is Noa Noan really weak? Enough. Young Master Wu Mahai's expression was ice-cold. Noa Noan can't be weak. You all felt the shockwaves from the previous explosion. They all reached the deity realm. How could Noa Noan be weak? It's Dongbu Shuang who is stronger than we expected. Their team didn't feel good at all. Previously, they had looked down on Dongbu Shuang, believing that without them, no team would want Dongbu Shuang. Moreover, entering Crimson Rock Mountain would mean certain death. But now that he had killed Noa Noan, it meant that even if Dongbu Shuang acted alone, there was still hope. Although it was dangerous, there was still hope. Manor Lord, no wonder you invited Dongbu Shuang to join our team. Manor Lord, you've long since discovered that he's strong? The old man with the goatee asked in surprise. He did not restrain his voice at all. There was no need for him to do so. Once they reached Crimson Rock Mountain, everyone would know. What? Dongbu Shuang joined the Bloodshed Tavern's team? The Meishan Master and Ken Huang's teams were relatively calm. The Temple of the Earth God's team, on the other hand, felt somewhat awkward. After all, they were certain that no other team would accept Dongbu Shuang. On the other side, after being threatened by the helmeted skull, the lords of Ulan's eyes were filled with killing intent. Looking at Dongbu Shuang and Ding Jiu's worship in the distance, they coldly said, I've run out of patience. You might not have patience, but I don't. Dongbu Shuaying's voice was low, filled with boundless killing intent. I've said it before, Noa Noan was only the first. Now, I'm going to kill the second. The expressions of the lords of Ulan and General Ku Meng changed slightly. Under their gazes, Dongbu Shuang, whose entire body was filled with killing intent, disappeared without a trace. Chapter 298. The Lords of Ulan's expression was ice-cold. General Ku Meng, Dongbu Shuang will most likely be dealing with you next. Humph, if he dares to deal with me, I'll take the opportunity to kill him. General Ku Meng's eyes were cold and emotionless. I will control the flow of time around us. The Lords of Ulan said. General Ku Meng nodded lightly. Following that boom, his body began to grow rapidly. From his original 3-meter height, which was considered normal, he immediately grew to a terrifying height of nearly 2,000 meters. He was practically a moving mountain. His breathing produced wind and thunder. His skin was completely silver, without a single strand of hair. His eyes were cold and emotionless. His enormous body brought with it a terrifying pressure. His pressure has increased. From afar, the golden-armored youth from the temple of the earth god, Wu Ma Hai, raised his head to look at the towering silver giant. The demons of the dark abyss do indeed have a great advantage in terms of innate talent. Just by relying on deity-tier secret arts, we would not be able to reach such a level. This is clearly weaker than me, but now that his body has become so enormous, his pressure feels like it has reached the deity tier. His power has increased, but his body has become larger, but his defense has become weaker. The tall, skinny man, Ba Han, said. No matter how weak he becomes, he is still stronger than me. Bo Bo shook his head and muttered, these fellows from the dark abyss, their demonic bodies are too monstrous. Normal cultivation. Normally, one's body would not be too strong. Even if one cultivated in a deity-tier secret art, there would be a limit to how strong one could become. However, the demons of the dark abyss were innately strong. Even without cultivating, their bodies were already heaven-defying. Once they obtained a special demonic body secret art, they could even strengthen their bodies to an extremely terrifying level. Of course, the price of strengthening a demonic body was also very high. This was not something any demigod demon could achieve. A pure demonic body is nothing. The laws of profound mysteries are the foundation. Wu Ma Hai said with interest. Let's watch carefully. Let's see how strong that Dongbui Shuang is. Emin, Bo Bo and Ba Han both nodded. It wasn't just the Temple of the Earth Gods team. The Bloodshed Tavern's team, the Meishan Master's team, and that golden-robed young man, Ken Wang's team, were all watching curiously. They wanted to use this opportunity to observe the strength of the Dark Abyss team. At the same time, they wanted to see the extraordinary strength of the geniuses of the Xia people's world. The Snow Eagle is making a move again. Inside the pitch-black Ding Jiu's warship, the Xia people's demigods were all nervous. They had thought that after killing Nua Nuan, Dongbui Shuang would stop. He didn't expect that he would have to continue fighting. Was he really confident? This silver giant seems to be stronger than Nua Nuan, Mountain Lord. He raised his head to look at the towering silver giant floating in midair. 2,000 meters tall, such a majestic giant. Even the 1,000-meter-long Ding Jiu warship seemed very small in front of him. This towering giant emitted an aura that engulfed the heavens and earth. His breathing produced wind and thunder. This aura was simply the aura of a god. The Snow Eagle should be able to protect himself within the Mirage world. Palace Lord Qin said, don't worry. Since the Snow Eagle was able to kill Nua Nuan, he isn't an impulsive person. And then, the Xia people's demigods were also in a state of panic. All of them were worried. The lords of Ulan and the towering General Ku Meng were all on guard. There was no other way. They couldn't find any traces of Dongbui Shuang, so they could only wait quietly. The moment Dongbui Shuang attacked, they would immediately counterattack. Although there was a high possibility that Dongbui Shuang would attack General Ku Meng, the lords of Ulan were still on guard. This true meaning of Mirage is truly troublesome. It's fine now, since his cultivation isn't high. I heard that after the true meaning of Mirage condenses a true deity heart, it will become even more powerful. The only thing we need to be wary of now is his sneak attacks, the lords of Ulan thought. Lord Yulan thought. Amongst the grade 2 true meanings, the true meaning of Mirage might be ridiculously weak, but many demigods still yearn to grasp it. Weak? Not afraid. They would just have to spend some effort cultivating another true meaning to supplement it. Unfortunately, the true meaning of Mirage wasn't something that could be comprehended just because one wanted to. Who? Suddenly, a spear twisted and revolved as it pierced out from the void. The spear shaft was like a swimming dragon, and one could see the true meaning of extreme piercing materializing around the spear shaft, as well as the resulting whirlpool. The spear appeared behind the silver giant and pierced towards the back of his head. The flow of time became extremely slow. This forced Dongbu Shuiying's spear technique to slow down. Although the true meaning of extreme piercing could counter time-related techniques, it was still not high enough, so it could only block a small portion of the attack. Phew! The silver giant turned around as fast as lightning and sent out a palm strike. This palm of his created countless streams of light, with the edges of these streams being filled with turbulent air currents. Having reached the deity realm, the speed of his palm technique was extremely fast. Pooh! The spear was ultimately nearer, piercing into the silver giant's head. It was as if a huge sculpture had suddenly broken into pieces. The silver giant's forehead immediately shattered, and at the same time, it was destroyed. When the spear was retracted, that huge palm finally slammed into it. Hong! The two collided. It was as if the entire world was shaking. The power of this attack was too great. It was not any weaker than the self-detonation of the thousand ghost body. More importantly, its power was even more concentrated as it slammed into the spear. Die! The silver giant General Ku Meng's cold eyes could only see the flow of countless particles. His palm followed the flow of countless particles and directly slapped the tip of the spear. The true meaning he grasped was the true meaning of particles. Furthermore, it was the true meaning of particles condensed into a true deity heart. When even the spear shaft was bent. But in the mirage, when this terrifying power was transmitted into the mirage, under the obstruction of the laws of the mirage, its power was greatly reduced. Even so, Dongbu Shuiying's right hand, which was holding onto the spear shaft, was still forced to rotate backwards to reduce the force. What a strong power! Dongbu Shuiying exclaimed. Pure power, with the help of the true meaning of particles, can actually be transmitted into the mirage. It was very difficult to transmit pure power into the mirage. What a pity! My true meaning of star is most proficient in strength and defense. Although Dongbu Shuiying's right hand, which was holding onto the spear shaft, was moving to reduce the force, his palm did not even feel numb, let alone tremble. After all, with the support of the true meaning of star, Dongbu Shuiying's strength was similarly vigorous. Every move he made was close to the power of an era suppressor. With such strength, he might not be able to fight against the silver giant in the outside world. But in the mirage, it was a piece of cake. He did not send it flying. The silver giant General Ku Meng looked at the bent spear in anticipation. According to his estimation, Dongbu Shuiying's body was weak. His full-force palm strike, which was executed with the true meaning of particles, should be able to penetrate into the mirage and cause Dongbu Shuiying to lose his grip on the spear. The moment he lost his grip, the spear would be sent flying and would naturally fall outside the real world. Could it be that he has a deity warrior and is relying on it to restrain the spear? The silver giant guessed. The spear spun as it once again appeared out of thin air, piercing towards the back of his neck. Every move of the silver giant General Ku Meng caused a violent gale to surge between heaven and earth, and countless rays of light appeared around his body. He furiously slapped out with his palm. With the help of the true meaning of time deceleration, he was able to counterattack with a slap every time he was stabbed. That terrifying slap! Even an era suppressor like Nuan would not dare to take it head-on, as they would be heavily injured if they did. Attack after attack! As both sides fought, General Ku Meng thought to himself, he must be holding on. Even a deity warrior wouldn't be able to withstand my attacks. He should be injured. As long as I keep hitting him, he will definitely die. But as time passed, every time he was stabbed, a small part of his body would collapse. One time was nothing, but after 20 to 30 times, General Ku Meng was unable to hold on any longer. Ku Meng, give up. He should have a very powerful protective true meaning or some strange treasure. The Lords of Ulan transmitted. He's still attacking you so many times. It's pointless for you to continue like this. Yes. General Ku Meng didn't dare to hold on any longer. The 2,000-meter-tall towering body rapidly shrunk, instantly turning into a 3-meter-tall silver man. Another spear, as fast as lightning, pierced through the silver man's neck. However, the silver man's body faintly flowed, and after the spear was withdrawn, the wound naturally healed. What? Within the mirage, Dongbush Shuang revealed a look of shock. He himself realized that his spear hadn't injured General Ku Meng in the slightest. General Ku Meng, on the other hand, revealed a mocking smile. His body grew larger, and his power increased. After shrinking his body, his power decreased, but his defense rapidly increased. At this moment, his defense was at its strongest. Although Dongbush Shuaying's attacks were powerful, General Ku Meng's demonic physique was even more powerful and couldn't harm him at all. Due to his fortuitous encounter in the darkness abyss, coupled with the true meaning of particles and the true deity heart, General Ku Meng had cultivated this demonic physique. Ordinary existences at the same level as him wouldn't be able to harm him. Once he used it, although his defense would decrease, his offensive power would directly increase to that of a deity. Of course, his offensive methods were a bit clumsy, but no matter what, he was still a deity. This was also the reason why Nua had obediently submitted to him. It was a pity that Dongbush Shuaying could hide in the mirage, and his defense seemed to be very strong as well. There was nothing he could do. Chapter 299. Dongbush Shuaying couldn't believe it and continued to attack. The silver man's body flowed slowly, without a single injury. A demigod's body is actually strong enough to withstand my extreme piercing? Dongbush Shuaying was shocked. If it was in the Xia people's world, who would dare say they could withstand his extreme piercing? He definitely wouldn't believe it. But this General Ku Meng from the dark abyss had done it. This kind of body was too heaven-defying. If General Ku Meng was like this, what about the Lords of Ulan? His attacks are still too weak. The leader of the Bloodshed Tavern team, Persei, nodded and smiled. Dongbush Shuaying's extreme piercing should be at the peak of Stage 2. If he could break through to Stage 3, or if he could use a deity weapon, he might be able to kill General Ku Meng. No matter how strong a demonic body was, there was still a limit. Dongbush Shuaying's attacks were clearly one step away from that limit. As long as he could reach that limit, he would be able to injure General Ku Meng. As long as he could injure General Ku Meng enough times, he would definitely die. You can't blame him for his weak attacks. The bald yellow-robed elder said, it's because that demigod from the dark abyss is too strong. If it were us, we wouldn't dare to take it head-on. We can't, but there's no need to. We have our own methods. With my illusions, I'm afraid he won't be able to find my real body. The goateed elder refused to admit defeat. But you won't be able to injure him either. The bald yellow-robed elder laughed. Persei nodded. We've more or less investigated Dongbush Shuaying's strength. It's not bad, and he's very balanced in all aspects. Although he can't use a deity weapon, his true meanings are not to be trifled with. He should be on the same level as Uncle Fu and an old thief. In terms of survival, he's even stronger than you two. N. The old man with the goatee and the bald yellow-robed old man nodded. They all had their own methods, but they had to admit that Shuaying, who was in the mirage, would be able to withstand any danger he encountered after entering Crimson Rock Mountain. Not a bad helper. Persei smiled. Previously, he was willing to bring Dongbush Shuaying along because of his feelings for him. However, now that Dongbush Shuaying was destined to be a good helper, he was very satisfied. The Xia people are in trouble. The Meishan master watched from afar. Dongbush Shuaying is strong, but he can't do anything to the Lords of Ulan. As for the Lords of Ulan, they will definitely not give up. One of their subordinates has just died, so they will definitely continue to ask for more God-tier scrolls. The Xia people might have to risk their lives. Brother Emperor Wu, will you help the Xia people? The white-robed girl's eyes lit up as she asked expectantly. Back then, you loved to help the weak. Third brother, will you help? The black-robed man hurriedly said, the Lords of Ulan's power is unfathomable. Moreover, after entering the Crimson Rock Mountain, we don't have any enmity or competition with them. Completing the world deity's mission is more important. I know the severity of the situation. However, don't look down on the Xia people. If the Xia people are willing to risk their lives, they won't be easy to deal with. If the Xia people are willing to give me some benefits, I might help them out. The Meishan master laughed. The lords of Ulan want god-tier scrolls. If we ask for more, it will be of great help to us in the Crimson Rock Mountain. And then the black-robed man didn't object. Brother Emperor Wu, can you sense that Dongbu Shuang? The white-robed girl hurriedly asked. We can't sense him, and it seems like the lords of Ulan can't sense him either. Brother Emperor Wu, your true meaning should be able to sense him, right? The Meishan master glanced at the white-robed girl and immediately transmitted, I can barely sense him. I've grasped the complete true meaning of space, and I'm extremely sensitive towards space. I'm also very sensitive towards the mirage. I can only barely sense Dongbu Shuiying's figure. If he had reached the stage 3 realm of the true meaning of mirage, I wouldn't be able to sense him either. Oh. The white-robed girl heaved a sigh of relief. She revealed a smile and transmitted, that's good. An enemy that can't be seen at all will cause one's hair to stand on end. Brother Emperor Wu, since you can sense him, we won't be afraid anymore. From start to finish. During the entire battle, they could only see a spear piercing out from the void. They couldn't see Dongbu Shuang at all. They couldn't help but feel apprehensive towards him. What a terrifying assassin! Everyone was discussing. Based on this battle, they had already determined the strength and threat level of Dongbu Shuang. They could also tell that this battle was about to end. Dongbu Shuang might be able to kill some of the era suppressors who were suppressed by him. But General Ku Meng, at least Dongbu Shuang couldn't do anything to him. They were now even more curious, how should the Xia people deal with him? Xia people, Dongbu Shuang can't help you either. The lords of Ulan looked at the pitch-black Ding Jiu's warship floating in the sky. Nuan Nuan is dead, and his treasures have been taken away by your Xia people's Dongbu Shuang. But as long as you hand over 30 deity-grade scrolls, I can pretend that none of this happened. I don't even want Nuan Nuan's treasures. But if you don't hand over the deity-grade scrolls, then I'll settle the score with your Xia people for Nuan Nuan's death. The lords of Ulan's voice was ice-cold, carrying with it an unshakable killing intent. The leaders of the other 4 teams didn't say anything. What a joke. The teams from the Darkness Abyss were not to be trifled with. This lords of Ulan already possessed the true meaning of time deceleration. He definitely had another true meaning that was extremely powerful in battle. The combination of 2 true meanings, no one would be willing to fight against such an opponent. After all, when both sides fought, the flow of time would be different, and they would be at a disadvantage. It was said that the lords of Ulan's arms had grown to dozens of kilometers long, even larger than the silver giant. He probably had a terrifying demonic body. Such an opponent was too difficult to deal with. Once they fought, no one could say for sure that they would win. Who knew, they might even die in battle. Without sufficient benefits, who would be willing to risk their lives for the Xia people? Moreover, each of them had received orders from a great existence. To them, the most important thing was still Crimson Rock Mountain. Damn it! The demigods of the Xia people within Ding Jiu's warship were completely dumbfounded. Everyone, what should we do? The Grand Elder Palace head frowned. Snow Eagle has already done his best, and his strength has exceeded our expectations. But there's no other way. The enemy is too strong. We can't hand over 30 deity-grade scrolls. Mountain Lord he frowned. AI. How can he control the flow of time? Damn it. Palace Lord Chen was even more anxious. No matter how powerful the treasures of the Xia people were, they were only used by demigods. The power they could display could not compare to that of deities. Under the deceleration of time, the threat was naturally reduced. I'll count to 10. If you delay any longer, the entire Xia people's world will die. The eyes of the lords of Ulan emitted a terrifying golden light, and their voice resounded throughout the world. 1. The demigods of the Xia people in the warship were all trembling as they looked at each other. The leaders of the 4 teams outside were all watching this scene without making a sound. Although the Meishan master had his own plans, the Xia people had not begged him. Naturally, he would not take the initiative to speak. 2, 3, 4. The lords of Ulan coldly announced the numbers one by one. What should we do? What should we do? Why don't we risk it all? Kill him at all costs. Let's enjoy ourselves for a moment and suffer countless losses. In the future, our entire race will be wiped out. The demigods of the Xia people were going crazy. Were they really going to lower their heads? That was worse than death. 9. The lords of Ulan said coldly. The killing intent on their bodies intensified. Boom! Suddenly, a terrifying wave appeared. Be it the lords of Ulan, the 4 teams in the distance, or the demigods of the Xia people in Ding Jiu's worship, all of them looked towards the source of the wave. It was a spear that appeared out of nowhere. The spear was like a flowing cloud of fire. At this moment, the lords of Ulan vaguely saw a huge star. There were flowers, trees, birds, and beasts on the star. The huge star suddenly expanded and exploded with a blinding light. Then, it suddenly collapsed. The blinding light rapidly collapsed and shrank, turning into a point. This point seemed to be the beginning of everything, and also the end of everything. This point brought with it an incomparably terrifying pressure that came crashing down. Pooh! The spear pierced General Ku Meng's forehead. General Ku Meng's eyes widened in fear. His entire body was like gravel. In an instant, it was completely crushed. Then, it disappeared into nothingness. Only a few relic gloves and other treasures floated down. General Ku Meng had been killed in a single blow. The lords of Ulan, Wu Ma Hai, Meishan Master, Ken Huang, Persei, and the rest of the spectators, including the transcendents of the Xia people in Ding Jiu's worship, stared at the scene in disbelief. Who? The spear that pierced General Ku Meng's forehead did not retract. Instead, a white-robed youth walked out of the void. The white-robed youth, Dongbo Shuang, had a murderous look on his face. He held the spear in his hand and kept the treasures left behind by General Ku Meng. You're the only one left. Dongbo Shuang looked at the lords of Ulan in the distance. His voice was calm, but these few words contained an unshakable killing intent. Chapter 300. Inside Ding Jiu's battleship. The transcendents of the Xia clan were silent. All of them stared blankly at the spear-wielding white-robed teenager floating in mid-air outside the cabin wall. Snow Eagle. He actually. This was an unbelievable feat. All the transcendents of the Xia people were about to go crazy from anxiety. But now, Dongbo Shuang had only used a single spear to break the stalemate. This caused the darkness that shrouded the heads of the Xia people to be torn apart. Previously, all the transcendents were filled with anxiety. Now, they were filled with relief, excitement and light. However, this feeling was very illusory and light. Yes, it was too illusory. The transcendents of the Xia people could not believe their eyes. This was real. Oh my god, this. I'm not seeing things right, am I? The Grand Elder Palace head blinked his eyes. The usually domineering Grand Elder Palace head was so excited that he had lost his composure. One move to kill that silver man. This is too unbelievable. Snow Eagle did not even have a divine equipment. One move to kill him. That silver man with the incomparably strong demonic body could not even withstand a single move. This is definitely the strength of a god. All of them were stunned. This scene was even more shocking than when the lords of Ulan had easily broken through the black-white deity mountain and crushed Feng Dong to death. The palm of the lords of Ulan was a special divine equipment and he had a strong demonic body. But what about Dongbo Shuang? Dongbo Shuaying's body was only at the middle stage of the martial saint level. He did not have any Do Qi. The only thing he could rely on other than the spear that did not even have runes was his true meaning. Just by relying on his true meaning, the strength he could unleash had already reached the god level. Palace Lord Chen's voice was trembling. This is too unbelievable. This is unbelievable. I can't believe this is real. Mountain Lord, he was also excited. In the history of our Xia people, such a thing has never happened before. It's too unimaginable. He was poisoned by the voodoo poison. The strength that Dongbui Shuang had displayed previously was already very shocking. However, the Xia people were still able to accept it very quickly. After all, Dongbui Shuang was already very shocking 100 years ago. Even after 100 years of torture, he was still able to make a breakthrough and improve his strength greatly. It was understandable that he was able to reach the level of an era suppressor. But now, they couldn't imagine it. The strength that Dongbui Shuang had displayed was beyond their imagination. They had clearly seen the defense of General Ku Meng's body. It was an extremely terrifying and heaven-defying devil physique. But it was such a devil physique that had been completely annihilated in just a single move, not even dozens or hundreds of moves. The terrifying life force contained within the demonic body was completely annihilated in a single move. He's definitely a deity. Qiu Qibai was also incomparably excited. Not only has his strength reached the deity realm, but his laws of profound mysteries are also at the deity realm. Purely reaching the deity realm in terms of strength was nothing. Si Kongyang relied on the 9-dragon fire deity armor to reach the deity realm. But his laws of profound mysteries were far too lacking. General Ku Meng and Nuan had grade 3 deity hearts, which could be considered the realm when a deity had just broken through. However, if they were to fight against a deity, they would still be crushed. Because deities, other than realms, also had deity power, deity domain, and many other aspects. I even believe that if Snow Eagle were to fight against a newly ascended deity, there wouldn't be much of a difference, Qiu Qibai said confidently. Right. Mountain Lord, he nodded. In the history of our Xia people, there are very, very few people who became deities with a low-grade true deity heart. Usually, it was a grade 3 true deity heart that finally became a deity. Grade 3 deity heart, that's the realm of Nuan and Silver Man. But Snow Eagle's spear technique just now, in terms of realm, is clearly higher than Silver Man's. In other words, compared to an ordinary newly ascended deity, Snow Eagle probably has an advantage in terms of realm. It's just that he doesn't have deity power or deity domain, he can only rely on his realm and barely fight to a standstill, Mountain Lord, he concluded. Killing Silver Man in one strike. They all firmly believed that this was definitely the strength of a deity. The Lords of Ulan had previously displayed strength comparable to a deity. And now, Snow Eagle had also displayed such strength. But the spear technique that Snow Eagle displayed earlier clearly wasn't this strong. How could it suddenly increase by so much? Even if he broke through in realm, it should be a gradual breakthrough. There's no reason for it to increase by so much. Grand Elder Palace Head didn't dare to believe it. For example, from the peak of the 2nd stage to the 3rd stage, one's strength would increase. But it shouldn't be this exaggerated. Previously, he couldn't even injure General Ku Meng with a single spear strike. And then directly killed him with a single spear strike. This increase was too much. It was so much that they felt it to be an illusion. Snow Eagle is the transcendent with the highest talent in the history of our Xia people. How many peak transcendents have you all seen? That General Yulan, that Wu Mahai, that Bloodshed Tavern's Persei, all of them are peak demigods chosen from the deity world and the dark abyss. All of them are incomparably tyrannical. Can you all imagine it before? Furthermore, according to the legends, there are heaven-defying transcendents with grade 1 true meanings. I'm afraid that they are even more powerful. Who knows, they might even be able to easily kill deities at the demigod realm. Palace Lord Chen laughed. These are all things that we have never seen before. We are, after all, transcendents of the mortal world. The things we have seen are too few. And then, the transcendents present all nodded. As for the 4 teams watching from the side, the shock they received was not light at all. Are my eyes playing tricks on me? An illusion? The team from the Temple of the Earth God were all stunned. Bo did not dare believe it. With this kind of power, he killed that silver man with a single spear. If he killed me, wouldn't he also need a single spear? This attack is too terrifying. The tall and skinny man, Ba Han, also felt a chill in his heart. He is definitely comparable to a deity. He has reached the deity realm. Wu Ma Hai's eyes narrowed. Even though he did not want to admit it, the truth was right in front of his eyes. The power displayed by this Dongbu Shuang was already on the same level as him. This was the level of a deity. Only peak demigods like them could match up to this level, and this Dongbu Shuang had also reached it. Damn! Wu Ma Hai muttered. The world deity who had sent him down had paid a terrifying price to send Wu Ma Hai down. There was once a Dongbu Shuang whose power was on par with him who wanted to join his team, but he actually chased away such an expert. The other teams only had a single deity. If their team had 2 deities, it would be a qualitative change. With the 2 of them working together, their chances of dealing with danger would greatly increase. It was a pity that they had missed this opportunity. Young Master Wu Ma Hai, did you see it clearly? How did his power increase by so much? Ba Han could not help but ask. Wu Ma Hai shook his head and did not say anything. This is crazy. Yet another native has erupted. Within the Meishan Master's team, a white-robed young lady cried out in shock. A sickly invalid can erupt with such terrifying power. They, the temporal temple's reincarnators, had traversed countless worlds. Occasionally, they would hear of a terrifying transcendent appearing in a certain mortal world. But now, in the Xia people's world, they had met such an existence. So strong. Third brother, did you see it clearly? How could he be so strong? The black-robed male asked. I don't dare to confirm. The Meishan Master stared at the distant Dongbu Shuang without blinking. I don't dare to believe it. But when he displays it again, I should be able to confirm it. Could it be? The golden-robed youth, Ken Huang, also widened his eyes. As well-known figures amongst the temporal temple's reincarnators, their horizons were much wider and they had much more experience. Even if they hadn't met such a person, they would have heard of it. Thus, when Dongbu Shuang displayed that spear, Ken Huang also thought of a legend. Impossible. He must be crazy. Ken Huang did not dare to believe it. Let's continue watching. The martial emperor and Ken Huang had guessed it the moment they saw it, but they did not dare to believe it. As for Persei, Wu Ma Hai, and the lords of Ulan, although they came from the deity world and the dark abyss, their horizons were still not bad. However, they could still think of a few possibilities. Regardless of which possibility it was, they were all extremely terrifying. In midair, Dongbu Shuang and the lords of Ulan were facing each other. Kill Nua Nua and kill Ku Meng. The lords of Ulan's killing intent began to rise, and their eyes faintly glowed with a golden light. Do you think that you can kill me? I was able to become a lord because I possess strength comparable to a demonic god. Do you think that you can kill a demonic god? Chapter 301. Your body is much stronger than Ku Meng's. Dongbu Shuang stared at the lords of Ulan. If I can kill him with a single spear, I can kill you too. Although General Ku Meng's demonic body is powerful, compared to mine. Lord Yulan hadn't even finished half of his sentence when both of his palms suddenly blasted out without any warning. His arms abruptly expanded, and in the blink of an eye, the 2 black arms had already reached Shuang. His enormous palms were covered in golden seals, and his fingers were even more so surrounded by circles of golden seals. The pair of huge palms directly struck Dongbu Shuang's body. Whoosh! Dongbu Shuang's body dissipated, but it was only an afterimage left behind by his body. Boom boom. Although the pair of huge palms stopped abruptly, the resulting airflow was compressed into two streams of light, which crashed into the ground in the distance, causing two huge pits to appear on the ground. It's the Mirage Realm again. The Lords of Ulan frowned. His swarthy face was filled with anger. He carefully observed his surroundings. At the same time, other than his own body, the flow of time in the surrounding area had become very slow. Dongbui Shui Ying's spear technique is very terrifying. Even General Ku Meng's body was destroyed in a single strike. Before I came here, although I received the help of the great demon god to perfect my demonic body, I'm slightly stronger than Ku Meng's. However, if I were to face such a terrifying attack head-on, even if I don't die, I'm afraid that I'll be injured, the Lords of Ulan thought. His demonic body was indeed strong, but he was not confident that he could face that terrifying spear technique head-on. Therefore, he had to defend against it. We must defend against it. We must. We must. The Lords of Ulan focused all of their attention, sensing their surroundings. They did not even dare to relax. They had to maintain the fastest reaction speed possible. Because Dongbui Shui Ying's spear had pierced out from the Mirage Realm, its attack speed was extremely fast. If they were slightly careless, the spear would probably pierce their bodies. Like Noan. Like General Ku Meng. Although they had the help of the Lords of Ulan, Noan and General Ku Meng's bodies had been pierced by the spear. This was because Dongbui Shui Ying's spear was too fast, and the distance between them was very short. Of course, no matter how short it was impossible for it to directly pierce the enemy's body. It was just like in the Mirage. Although it reflected reality, if there was a mask on one's face, Dongbui Shui Ying would not be able to see the appearance of others. From the Mirage to the real world, one could only enter the normal area. For example, if a transcendent could fly in the sky, swim in the water, or travel underground, then a weapon could directly enter the sky or underground from the Mirage. But to kill someone, the weapon had to be stabbed into the enemy's body. If he wanted to come out of the Mirage, he would have to stab it as well. Extreme piercing was also a grade 2 true meaning. Furthermore, it was an extremely offensive true meaning. It also needed to penetrate the enemy's body. During the process of penetration, the enemy would be able to sense and block it. The gun appeared very quickly, and the distance was very short. Noan, Ku Meng, and the others were all hit. I have to block it. The Lords of Ulan acted as if they were facing a great enemy. Right here. The eyes of the Lords of Ulan shone with a golden light. He abruptly turned his head to look behind him. He could sense a terrifying force entering the real world from the Mirage. Bang! A spear that looked like a flowing cloud of fire appeared from the void. By the time it appeared, it was already behind the Lords of Ulan. However, the moment it appeared, the Lords of Ulan had already turned around and retreated. At the same time, he waved his palm. This spear, it was still emitting a terrifying undulation of the laws of profound mysteries. It was as if an enormous star had suddenly expanded, emitting a dazzling radiance. Following that, it rapidly contracted, converging into a single point. It was as if it was the beginning of everything, and as if it was the end of everything. Under the intense entanglement of the true meaning of time deceleration, its speed had been reduced by half. However, its might and profound mysteries did not decrease in the slightest. Amen. Countless golden seals appeared on the palm of the Lords of Ulan. As he waved his palm, his expression suddenly changed. He could feel that this spear was like a terrifying whirlpool. It had an extremely shocking gravitational force. When his palm art immediately changed, PFFF. The spear pierced out at an extremely fast speed. At the same time, the gravitational force of the whirlpool turned into a repulsive force. It seemed as if it was very difficult to even get close to this spear. The sudden change in the gravitational force and repulsive force caused his palm art to fluctuate slightly. One had to know that an instantaneous change in an extremely close distance was very fatal. Split. The 5 fingers of the Lords of Ulan suddenly expanded. It was a close call, and 2 of the fingers directly blocked the tip of the spear. The tip of the spear pierced the fingers. The lords of Ulan immediately flicked their fingers. The tip of their fingers had a faint golden light, and the space immediately collapsed and shattered. The lords of Ulan directly tapped on the tip of the spear. This sudden flick of the fingers might be slightly weaker than General Ku Meng's full power, but in reality, the threat of the attack was much greater. Because the laws of profound mysteries were more mysterious, the weakening effect when it passed through the mirage was relatively lesser. Swish! The spear retracted and disappeared into the void. Just a little bit more. I didn't expect this spear to have such a terrifying gravitational force. This gravitational force is practically comparable to a stage 3 pinnacle true meaning of gravity. The lords of Ulan felt some lingering fear. It really is. The Meishan Master and the golden-robed man, Ken Huang, from the other team felt endless waves surging in their hearts. The spear appeared time and time again from the void. The lords of Ulan's heart was as calm as still water. They focused all of their attention on sensing. Every time, they could feel the undulations and would immediately defend with all their might. Since he already knew the gravitational force of the spear, he was able to block it every time. He even tried his best to counterattack. However, after being weakened by the spear and the mirage, the threat it posed to Dongbush Shuang was much lower. At most, his palm would feel slightly numb. Third brother, you saw through it. The black-robed man and the white-robed lady looked towards the Meishan Master. The Meishan Master nodded lightly as he watched the intense battle from afar. The lords of Ulan were currently fighting against a spear that pierced out from the void. I saw through it. The Meishan Master's heart trembled. His gaze was complicated. Brother Martial Emperor, what's the reason? The white-robed lady asked. Secret skill. The Meishan Master transmitted. Ah! The black-robed man and the white-robed lady were incomparably shocked. They were both members of the Temporal Temple. Naturally, they knew what a secret skill meant. It was the exact opposite of a secret art. Secret skill? The golden-robed man, Ken Huang, muttered to himself, this is madness. In a mortal world, a human who has cultivated for close to 200 years and has been tortured by the voodoo poison actually has a secret skill? Furthermore, it's a secret skill that contains two different true meanings. Although Wu Ma Hai and Persei couldn't see through it at the start, as Dongbush Shuang fought against the lords of Ulan time and time again, they were able to see through it. Secret skill. Wu Ma Hai and Persei were certain of it. However, this result caused them to feel extremely upset. Was it because of jealousy? What was a secret skill? Simply put, a secret skill was a secret combat technique. Secret skill, it was a special application of the laws of profound mysteries. Normally, when one fought using the laws of profound mysteries, the application would be very crude and direct. For example, the secret skill that Dongbush Shuang had learned, Magic Dragon Power, was to fuse the Magic Dragon Divine Seal into one's body, allowing one's body to evolve and become stronger. The Magic Dragon Divine Seal contained the profound mysteries of the heavens and earth. It was very ordinary, but it formed an extremely complicated divine seal. Furthermore, it could produce miraculous effects. This was a type of application. A special application. The Xia people had many secret skills. For example, Do-Chi type secret skills, and Body type secret skills. All of these could be learned, because they were formed from divine seals. They were fixed and unchanging. Therefore, as long as one learned them, they could use them in the same way. It could allow one's body to evolve, or allow one's Do-Chi to be used more efficiently. However, secret combat techniques were different. Battles were constantly changing. The secret battle tactics used during a battle were not the same divine seals that were unchanging. Instead, it was a type of secret skill that was constantly changing. Because it was constantly changing, it was an extremely complicated combination of many profound mysteries. Without a fixed divine seal, there was no way to learn it. It had long been acknowledged. Secret combat techniques had to be created by oneself. Even the powerful existences of the deity world were unable to teach their disciples. Therefore, secret techniques were divided into two categories. The first category, which could be taught and learned, was a regular secret technique. What the Xia people could learn, and what the deity world could learn, all belonged to this category. The commonly mentioned secret techniques were of this category. The second category, which could only be created by oneself, was a secret combat technique. For the sake of differentiation, it was also called a secret skill. Secret skills, the same profound mysteries of the laws, could be used explosively in power. According to the legends of the temporal temple, the Maishan master watched from afar. Out of 10,000 transcendents with a grade 2 true meaning, only one would be able to create a secret skill. There were very few transcendents with a grade 2 true meaning. Before Dongbui Shui Ying's era, the Xia people had more than 10,000 transcendents with grade 3 true meanings, but only one with a grade 2 true meaning. But if one were to look at the entire material world, the billions of mortal worlds, the deity world, and the dark abyss, every era would have a large number of transcendents with grade 2 true meanings. A grade 2 true meaning could only be said to be a legend in the mortal world. Only a grade 1 true meaning was a legend even in the deity world and dark abyss. A transcendent with a grade 1 true meaning is a legend among legends. In the billions of worlds, even in the deity world and dark abyss, they are legends. It is very difficult to even see one. As for a genius who creates a secret skill, even though it is rare, I have at least seen one in the temporal temple. The Maishan master side, I can be considered to be not bad, but compared to a transcendent who creates a secret skill, I am still lacking. On the other side, Persei shook his head. A secret skill created by himself. If his true meaning could reach the stage 3 realm, with this secret skill, he would be able to kill deities. Such an existence would probably not be willing to send him to Crimson Rock Mountain. Even if he was willing, the price of transporting him would be ridiculously high. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Chapter 302. This monster. His secret skill even fused two true meanings into one. The golden-robed teenager, Ken Huang, shook his head. Otherwise, its power wouldn't be so exaggerated. The Lords of Ulan has grasped two grade 2 true meanings. The Temple of the Earth Gods team, Wu Ma Hai, watched from afar and whispered, and both of his grade 2 true meanings have reached the peak of the stage 3 realm. His demonic body is comparable to a deity, and he even has a deity weapon. Who would have thought that this would be the result? Dongbui Shui Ying's secret skill is too powerful. That secret skill of his is purely offensive, and its power should be comparable to the peak of the stage 3 realm of extreme piercing. Wu Ma Hai could see it. Dongbui Shui Ying did not have any qi or deity weapon. He only relied on the power of his true meanings. Furthermore, that spear technique was purely destructive. Everything in the world turned into an extreme point to attack. Compared to the Lords of Ulan, it was only slightly weaker. One had to know that the Lords of Ulan had a deity weapon and a demonic body. What a powerful secret skill. His comprehension of the realm isn't bad. With this secret skill, he is completely on par with us. They were the apex demigods. Maishan Master, Persei, Ken Huang, Wu Ma Hai, and the Lords of Ulan, all of them were at the peak of the stage 3 realm of a grade 2 true meaning. It was impossible for them to condense a grade 2 deity heart. Because, the moment they condensed a grade 2 deity heart, they could easily become a deity. If they could become a deity, they would have done so long ago. Who would be willing to gamble their lives in Crimson Rock Mountain? It was extremely difficult to become a deity with a grade 5 or grade 4 deity heart. A grade 3 deity heart was harder, but a grade 2 deity heart would definitely allow one to become a deity. As for the legendary grade 1 deity heart, that was even more unfathomable and frightening. Actually, a grade 1 true meaning was too rare. From grade 4 true meanings to grade 3 true meanings, a single grade 3 true meaning would appear out of tens of grade 4 true meanings. From a grade 3 true meaning to a grade 2 true meaning, out of tens of thousands of grade 3 true meanings, a single grade 2 true meaning would be considered a legend. From a grade 2 true meaning to a grade 1 true meaning, out of a million grade 2 true meanings, it would be hard to find a single grade 1 true meaning. The birth of a grade 1 true meaning could not be calculated using probability. The birth of every grade 1 true meaning was a miracle. In fact, its birth was even more difficult than a grade 1 deity heart. Why? This was because after one became a god, for example, with a grade 2 deity heart, one could still spend a long period of time to cultivate and evolve a grade 2 deity heart into a grade 1 deity heart. Thus, being able to comprehend a grade 1 true meaning at the transcendent realm was an extremely amazing feat. So, once a genius with a grade 1 true meaning was born, with their comprehension abilities, condensing a deity heart would be a piece of cake. Even if they died prematurely, the major powers of the god world would try their best to preserve their souls and reconstruct their bodies so that they could continue living. In short, anyone with a grade 1 true meaning would treat it as a treasure. At the same time, their enemies would also think of ways to eliminate them as soon as possible. Thus, unless it was absolutely necessary, the existence of a grade 1 true meaning would usually be kept a secret. Even the temporal temple had been requested by the various powers to set an agreement so as to prevent the temporal temple from becoming too powerful. This battle has come to an end, Perseus said with a smile as he watched from afar. Dongbu Shuang and the Lords of Ulan are in a stalemate. What if the Lords of Ulan continue to threaten the Xia people by slaughtering countless humans? The old man with a goatee asked. Don't worry. He needs to be fully focused to defend against Dongbu Shuaying's spear techniques. He doesn't dare to be distracted. He shouldn't take the risk of slaughtering countless humans. Perseus said. Even if he were to slaughter those mortals, he wouldn't need to be distracted, right? The old man with a goatee continued muttering. Even if he were to do so, as a teammate of Dongbu Shuang, I would still act. If I were to work together with Dongbu Shuang, the Lords of Ulan could only flee in panic. If they didn't flee, they would definitely die. Perseus said. Previously, before Dongbu Shuang revealed his secret technique, he would only be able to match up to Ulan. But now that Dongbu Shuang had revealed his secret technique, it would be a different story if he were to act now. Within the Mirage world, Dongbu Shuang looked at the black-skinned youth who was wrapped in a white cloth. He frowned. This Lords of Ulan is too strong. The true meaning ripples emanating from his body are unstoppable. Previously, my fantasy domain was unable to get close to him. I removed it, but he was still emitting true meaning ripples, preventing my Mirage doppelgangers from getting close. Currently, he could control 9 Mirage doppelgangers. During battle, he could transform into 10 spears and attack at the same time. The other 9 spears were controlled by the Mirage doppelgangers. It was a pity that the Mirage doppelgangers were too weak. The true meaning of Mirage was inherently weak, and the 9 Mirage doppelgangers barely had the strength of a veteran demigod. With such strength, the spears would not even be able to get close to the Lords of Ulan. They would not be able to confuse him at all. Even if the Mirage doppelgangers were formed around the Lords of Ulan, they would be destroyed by the opponent's true meaning ripples. Other methods are useless. Who would have thought that the star meteor annihilation that I spent over 100 years to comprehend would not be able to kill him? It seems like I can only make a final gamble. Dongbu Shuang frowned. Back then, he had been poisoned by the voodoo poison. Unable to fully comprehend the true meaning, he had focused on pursuing spear arts. He had even unknowingly started to fuse the true meaning of star and the profound mysteries of extreme piercing together. Because his lifespan was not long, and he had been tortured day and night, Dongbu Shuang no longer had any worries. He had focused on pursuing the peak of spear arts in his heart. Who cared about the profound mysteries? The stronger the spear art, the better the spear art. Thus, the star meteor annihilation was gradually formed. He had never even heard of this secret technique before. However, this star meteor annihilation was indeed his greatest achievement in the past 100 years. Furthermore, as his true meaning of star and extreme piercing improved, this secret technique would continue to improve. Palace Lord Chen. Dongbui Shuang said. His voice was transmitted through the Mirage doppelgangers into Ding Zhou's battleship. Snow Eagle. The group of Xia people's demigods in the battleship were all excited. The Xia people had actually given birth to such a powerful transcendent. Palace Lord Chen, I want to make a final gamble. Thus, I hope that you guys can help me. I heard that Ding Zhou's battleship released an attack previously, and it almost hit the Lords of Ulan. I hope to make another attack. The price might not be small, but I feel that it should be worth it. Dongbui Shui Ying's voice rang out from within Ding Zhou's battleship. Isn't it just a deity crystal? That's equivalent to a deity-grade scroll. It's nothing. The Xia people were all very carefree. Previously, when they had saved Dongbui Shuang, they had wasted quite a few of them. They were still willing to part with a deity crystal. If not for Dongbui Shuang, they might not have been able to win even if they had spent tens of deity crystals. Alright. Look for an opportunity. When I attack the Lords of Ulan, give him a blow. Dongbui Shuang looked at the stellar fire cloud spear in his hands. The tip of the spear had a smear of red on it. The Lords of Ulan stood in midair, carefully sensing their surroundings. Waves of true meaning swept out in all directions, causing the flow of time to slow down. Since I've been forced to this extent by Dongbui Shuang, even if you can't kill me, I'll still make you regret it. The Lords of Ulan glanced at the 4 teams in the distance. Seeing me suffer a setback, I reckon that one of the 4 teams will make a move. Even so, I'd rather waste a deity-grade scroll to let the Xia people know the price of disobeying me. Having climbed up step by step from the dark abyss, the Lords of Ulan were people who would seek revenge for the smallest grievance. This time, he had brought 5 deity-grade scrolls with him. However, the cost of transporting them was too high. With only 5 scrolls, he wanted to get another 30 from the Xia people. Then, he would have a much higher chance of success at Crimson Rock Mountain. If I have a fortuitous encounter at Crimson Rock Mountain and condense a grade 2 deity heart and become a demonic god, I'll definitely make the Xia people pay the price. The Lords of Ulan gritted their teeth. He had 2 grade 2 true meanings. Both were at the peak of the stage 3 realm. In terms of power, he was much stronger than Nuan and General Ku Meng. In terms of laws of profound mysteries, he was similarly more profound. The difference in power and laws of profound mysteries allowed the Lords of Ulan to have an overwhelming advantage over them. Furthermore, he had 2 grade 2 true meanings complementing each other. Hong, the Lords of Ulan blocked the attacks from Dongbui Shui Ying's spear with all his might. Paw! Without any warning. A deep blue lightning bolt suddenly shot out from the distant Ding Zhou's battleship. It was like a malevolent deep blue serpent. Its flying speed was extremely fast, and its power was extremely frightening. The heavens and earth faintly trembled, and the space it passed through turned into nothingness, leaving behind only pitch-black cracks. In the blink of an eye, it had arrived in front of the Lords of Ulan. The Xia people. The Lords of Ulan were both shocked and furious. Under the pressure from Dongbui Shuang, they had almost forgotten that the attacks from Ding Zhou's battleship were even more frightening. In terms of power, the attacks from a deity-grade battleship that relied on deity crystals were much stronger than those demigods who were only comparable to newly ascended deities. Dodge, dodge, dodge! At this moment, the Lords of Ulan were doing their utmost to increase their speed. Their demonic physiques erupted with their fastest speed, and the true meaning of time deceleration was also doing its best to slow down the attack of the deep blue lightning serpent. Hua! The deep blue serpent flashed past, and the figures of the Lords of Ulan disappeared. It reappeared next to them in midair. Just a little bit more, just a little bit more. The Lords of Ulan felt a wave of lingering fear, but they did not have the time to relax. Pooh! An extremely fast spear appeared right next to them. The distance was too close, and it was too fast. The Lords of Ulan, who had just barely dodged the deep blue serpent with all his might, waved his palm, but it was too late. The moment he waved his hand, the spear pierced through the void and pierced right through his forehead. Star. Chapter 303. What? The four teams watching the battle from afar were shocked. It was too fast. Just now, they thought that Dongbu Shuang would not be able to deal with the Lords of Ulan. Who would have thought that the tables would turn so quickly? The Xia people were willing to pay a hefty price. Ding Jiu's warship launched another attack. Following closely was Dongbu Shui Ying's terrifying spear. He could dodge it once, but he could not dodge it a second time. He won't die, right? They watched nervously. After all, he was a demigod comparable to a god. How could he die just like that? The transcendence of the Xia people on Ding Jiu's warship watched nervously as well. No! The Lords of Ulan felt a terrifying profound mystery of destruction being transmitted into his body, destroying his demonic body in a frenzy. Almost instantly, his entire head caved in and turned into nothingness. However, it was only his head that turned into nothingness. Below his neck, his entire black body was still intact. His black body immediately retreated. As he retreated, a new head grew out from his neck. This demonic body was even stronger than General Ku Meng's. If his body were to expand, it could even reach a terrifying height of 300 li. That was why his arm could easily expand by tens of li. In the words of the great demon god, this was definitely comparable to a true demonic god's body. However, even so, with a single attack, the Lords of Ulan's body was completely destroyed. His head was obliterated. With just 10 attacks like this, my demonic body will be completely annihilated. The Lords of Ulan had a new lease on life. He was shocked. Just as his new head grew out, his expression changed drastically. He felt it. A mysterious poison was spreading rapidly. Even with his tyrannical demonic body that was comparable to a demonic god's, he could not stop this poison. The poison seeped into every part of his body, including the devil's sea within his body where he cultivated dark demonic energy. The poison also seeped into his body and began to affect the circulation of the devil's sea within his body. That was not all. The toxins had also seeped into the skull and brain. This kind of infiltration was complete at the particle level. A terrifying, intense pain. This was a pain that the Lords of Ulan had never felt before. Although they had experienced countless battles and dangers in the dark abyss, this level of pain still caught them off guard. This kind of pain transcended the physical body, causing even the soul to tremble. Ah! The Lords of Ulan let out a pained roar. Their faces were contorted and they seemed to have gone mad. Voodoo! The six ghosts' resentment which poison. The Lords of Ulan's roar was filled with endless hatred and murderous intent. His voice echoed between the heavens and the earth. What? The four teams watching the battle, including the Xia people transcendents in Ding Jiu's warship, were all shocked. When they heard the unwilling and pained roar of the Lords of Ulan, they could feel the grief and indignation of the Lords of Ulan. It's actually the six ghosts' resentment which poison. Yes, it must be Dongbu Shuang. He was already poisoned and his entire body is covered in the poison. He must have smeared the poison on the tip of his spear before the battle. How vicious! What a pitiful Lords of Ulan! Is he poisoned by the six ghosts' resentment which poison now? I heard that this witch poison is extremely painful. Too vicious. This is too vicious. The members of the four teams all sympathized with the Lords of Ulan. The Lords of Ulan was very strong. They dared to threaten the Xia people with the true meaning of time deceleration. Perhaps they could have succeeded. Unfortunately, their luck was not so good. The Xia people had produced a terrifyingly talented Dongbu Shuang. This time, they were in deep trouble. The Lords of Ulan felt the incomparable pain, but his heart was calm. This was because he knew that this was the moment of life and death. It's the six ghosts' resentment which poison. However, the poison contained in his blood has been greatly weakened. Although this witch poison is powerful, my demonic body's recovery ability is enough to resist it. However, the troublesome thing is, it actually seeped into my demonic sea. The speed at which I cultivate and produce dark demonic energy has been reduced by 50%. The Lords of Ulan concluded. This was normal. Even if Dongbush Shuang was poisoned with the 6 ghosts' resentment witch poison, it was not the original one. Instead, it was the poison carried by the sorcerer god Saber. It was also a weakened version. When Dongbush Shuang was struck by the saber, his body's recovery ability was enough to resist the destructive power of the poison. It was only after he was struck by the saber that he ended up like this. Although Dongbush Ying's body was filled with the 6 ghosts' resentment witch poison, this poison was weaker than the sorcerer god saber. After all, it was impossible for the blood of a person who was poisoned with the original 6 ghosts' resentment witch poison to be the original 6 ghosts' resentment witch poison. If that was the case, the 6 ghosts' resentment witch poison could be produced continuously. This was impossible. Therefore, the poison in Dongbush Ying's blood was weaker than the poison on the sorcerer god Saber. After the Lords of Ulan were poisoned, their demonic bodies could easily resist the corrosive power. However, their cultivation of dark demonic energy was affected. Of course, the most important thing was the pain. The poison has been greatly weakened, but the most fatal thing is that it's too painful. I have to use all my strength to stay calm, but if I fight with Dongbush Shuang in this state, it's very easy for me to be poisoned again. Although the Lords of Ulan had strong willpower, it was still weaker than Dongbush Shuang, who had been tortured by the poison day and night for 100 years. Fortunately, the poison was weaker, and he could still fight. I have to escape. I can't fight anymore, I can't even stay focused right now. Tortured by the pain, the Lords of Ulan's face contorted. A thought flashed through his mind, and he instantly made a decision. Without hesitation, a blood-red scroll appeared in his hand. Rip, the scroll was torn. Buzz! A layer of strange blood-red flowing light formed on the surface of his body, protecting every part of his body. This was one of the life-saving god-tier scrolls that he brought down from the dark abyss. Dark demonic energy was a very perfect type of energy. It could fight like a transcendent knight, and it could also use spells to control the scroll. Transcendent knights like Dongbush Shuang would not be able to use this scroll. Run! The Lords of Ulan immediately turned into a stream of light, and started to run for their lives. He was not confident that he could block Dongbush Ying's spear, so he had to rely on the power of the scroll. He did not dare to taste the pain of Dongbush Ying's spear again. Firstly, every time he was hit, his injuries would worsen. Secondly, the poison would increase, and the pain would worsen. He couldn't bear either of these results. Although it took a long time to describe, the moment the Lords of Ulan was stabbed, they could feel the terrifying poison. They instantly made a decision, toward the scroll, and started to escape. Trying to escape? How fast was Dongbush Shuang in the mirage? He could use extreme piercing in the mirage, and he could travel 500 kilometers in an instant. No matter how fast the Lords of Ulan ran, they would not be able to stop him. Hua! The Lords of Ulan flew with all their might, trying to escape. His speed was truly terrifying. It was no wonder he had a physique that was comparable to that of a demonic god. His entire body turned into a ray of golden light, and the golden light tore through the obstructions of space, reaching a terrifying speed of 500 kilometers per second. This was even faster than the speed of the demonic faction's third priest with the help of the shadow token. Not only his physique, but his laws of profound mysteries were also comparable to that of a demonic god. However, no matter how fast he ran, Dongbush Shuang could easily keep up with him in the mirage. Die! A spear pierced out from the void. Boom! The Lords of Ulan maintained their maximum speed as they fled. Almost all of their attention was focused on their surroundings. Although they were in great pain, they could still maintain their composure. Immediately, they used all their strength to block the spear. However, Dongbush Shuang did not care. He continued to chase and attack with his spear. Within a region of 10,000 kilometers, the Lords of Ulan flew for 10 seconds. Dongbush Shuang attacked with his spear again and again. a total of 9 spear strikes landed on the body of the Lords of Ulan. However, the blood-colored radiance on the surface of the Lords of Ulan's body was extremely strong. It was actually able to withstand 9 spear strikes without being destroyed. However, it was much dimmer than before. Dongbua Shuang did not find this strange. Previously, when he was attacked by the Sorcerer God Saber, the Grand Elder Ao Lan, who was controlling the Sorcerer God Saber, was very weak. However, the Sorcerer God Saber was extremely powerful. Even after passing through the Green Armored Protector, its power was still at the deity realm after being weakened. Back then, the Sorcerer God Saber had to stab more than 10 times before it broke through the purple lightning wall. The might of the Lords of Ulan's protective scroll should not be inferior to my purple lightning protective wall from back then. It might even surpass it. Compared to the Sorcerer God's sword that had been weakened by the Green Armored Protector, my power might be comparable. On the other hand, my Star Meteor Annihilation is more profound than Grand Elder Ao Lan's, and its destructive power is greater. I should be able to break through it in another 3 to 5 hits, Dongbua Shuang thought. Rip. After flying out of the sealed space, the Lords of Ulan immediately tore open a space tunnel and fled. Boom! A long spear pierced through the void and pierced the Lords of Ulan in the spatial passage. In terms of speed, the space tunnel continued to attack under the illumination of the mirage. Keep up! Wu Ma Hai and the other 3 teams caught up one after another. Following the fluctuations in space, they easily followed behind them. Damn it! The demigods of the Xia people in Ding Jiu's warship were indignant. Once this deity world warship moves at high speed, it will be unable to seal space and attack. Sigh. Mountain Lord, he felt a headache coming on. Just like how mortals would find it hard to draw while running at high speed, weaker mages would find it hard to calmly cast spells while running at high speed. Similarly, Mountain Lord He's realm was still too low. Once the deity world warship moved at high speed, it would be unable to attack. Only when it stopped or flew very slowly could it seal the space, attack, and so on. Let's keep up, Palace Lord Chen said. Mountain Lord he nodded. Alright. After removing the seal on the surrounding space, Ding Jiu's warship immediately followed the fluctuations caused by the Lords of Ulan tearing open space. His extreme piercing is faster than mine. While flying in the spatial passage, the Lords of Ulan suffered the attacks of the spear again and again. They felt very sullen. Of the 2 grade 2 true meanings he cultivated, one specialized in attacking, while the other was a domain-type time deceleration. It was a pity that his time deceleration could not penetrate the mirage. If it were the Meishan Master, with his complete true meaning of space, he would be able to penetrate the mirage. Not good. I have to change to another one. The Lords of Ulan quickly realized that the layer of bloody light protecting their bodies could no longer hold on. Damn this pain. If he was absolutely focused, he could still block it. But this hexing poison was truly painful. He could not focus completely and could only force himself to remain calm. And then, within the mirage, Dongbua Shuang, who was also traveling through the spatial passage, suddenly frowned. This spatial passage is heading towards Crimson Rock Mountain. Within the spatial passage, the Lords of Ulan's speed could not be considered fast. Due to the obstruction of the invisible laws, the spatial passage had already penetrated deep into the ground. Furthermore, it was moving diagonally downwards. According to its direction, it seemed to be heading towards the location of Crimson Rock Mountain which Ancestor Black Wind had left behind.